It's the third day of the playoffs here in the NAL, and we had yet another day and yet another surprise. OXG dominate wildcard and send them packing, and they now await the winner of our next matchup. It is M80 and SSG. Welcome back, everyone, to the NAL. I'm Jonas Willinger alongside Foxay and Laxing as we get into yet another lower bracket quarter final. This one, once again, should be a good one. It's a rematch of when these two teams met in the Super Week, but this time the stakes are higher.
Yeah, I mean, the stakes are higher. Will the outcome be different? I mean, M80 took that win, but it was a really neck-and-neck match all the way to the end. But from what we've seen so far, M80 has looked unstoppable, so to say, up until, they faced SR, but it was a very close game. Honestly, their first matchup against OXG, a little bit rocky, but SSG, on the other hand, went out pretty early. Unfortunately, not the SSG that we hope to have seen in the playoffs by no means.
Yeah, M80, their game against Shopify Rebellion yesterday was amazing. It was close. They could not come out with the win, but it does tell you that this team has a lot of promise at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to kick off the first game on Chalet, was a barn burner of a game, but they understood their approach and how they wanted to treat SR. They end up getting that win. Then you fast forward into Nighthaven Labs, and then that's where everything kind of started to fall apart. I believe they got too comfortable. They weren't understanding what the priority was because they were feeling good about their win coming out of Chalet, being able to right their wrongs since the last time they met them. And then you fast forward into Border, where that game was so close. I mean, even Nighthaven's was close, but again, Border, it just really came down to small little mistakes that were just ruining each and every single round that we easily could have possibly seen M80 walking away with that win.
Where we saw yesterday, in a moment like this, just how well they were able to get into winning position. Of course, that final round, Canadian ending it, the dagger in the hearts of M80. But it was a fantastic matchup. They got themselves in position to win. Laxing, the problem was they had a tendency to let it slip.
Yeah, it's honestly the mid to late round comms. That's where you can clearly identify, not only as a player, even as a viewer, I'm sure you can understand when you're watching some of those rounds and you see them fall apart when they're in M80's hands. Everything is right there for them to just take it away. They just can't. And again, it leads into those comms. I mean, prime example is this round, round 4 in the Chalet game. They get all of the control that they need. They fall back. They do a good job. They just don't understand that they need that top floor, and they lose it outright when it was in their own hands. You can only imagine the comms that were flooded. And then round 10, this was a perplexing round that I believe all of us on the desk here were like, what just happened? Because it just came down to a bait scenario where Kino easily brings us back. Players are 1 HP, and it just fumbles time and time again, where the comms, I don't know what happened between that trade potential that should have been there that ended up not falling up. And then the last round, I can't fully blame Hot and Cold here for getting Gunner getting smoked by Canadian Shop, but it just ends up just falling apart time and time again. I'm not in the comms, but I can only imagine chaos is just riding in there. And we've heard from time and time again, also from the man you're seeing on the screen here, is they should win these games. They know the things that are going wrong. Comms are their biggest issue, and it is definitely a nightmare, and it is constantly showing time and time again.
And all of those rounds, there's not necessarily one specific way to win it, but as long as you're playing off of each other, using that communication to make sure that you're playing the trades, that is the main goal. I mean, each one of those rounds, they look like the communication wasn't there. I mean, if we talk about the Kino missing the shotgun shots, could have easily communicated with his teammate before he had to peek, but he didn't. He could have communicated with Hot and Cold so that he could peek off of the Clash Shield, but he didn't. So that's the biggest issue, is the communication in stressful situations is crumbling.
Well, other than those communication problems, is there anything else they can focus on tidying up going into this matchup? Clearly, some improvements got to be made.
Yeah, and I love that you're talking about this matchup in particular, because what we saw with SSG versus M80 before, it was a constant back and forth. Who was walking away with that opening kill? Who was getting picked first? And that's something that is going to speak volumes in this matchup in particular. They aren't doing bad by any means in their opening kills. They're netting a positive ratio. But if you can, especially going into this match against SSG, if you can walk away and clean up those numbers and just set yourself up even further with those opening kills, you're going to have a much easier time in this best-of-3 series, especially going against a team like SSG that we already saw what console it delivered before.
Exactly. With SSG, though, they're kind of in a similar position, right? We see how quickly they're willing to take space, that desire to take that control. but we also see in situations like that, Fox, how they can get themselves stretched a little thin.
Yeah, I mean, that's the identity for SSG, and that's why this plateau that we talk about that SSG always finds themselves in is something that we've been seeing more and more prominently, specifically in the playoffs. They like to take a mass amount of area very fast, very aggressively, but the issue is a lot of these players are often an island. So when they play against a team that is a top-tier team like Wildcard was in that matchup, they can identify who's the player that we want to hit, do it together, and it's very difficult for one player to fend off in a 2v1, 3v1, and once that player is lost, nobody from SSG is able to trade or be in that position. You can see it on the screen, an 8% trade potential when they lose a pick. That's really, really bad if you're SSG, and that's just because of the SSG strategy. Yes, against a good team, you'll be able to overwhelm them, but against a bad team, they're too far to be able to connect to each other when things go awry.
Well, part of that strategy that we kind of want to see more is maybe some embracing of the shield play. Most teams have a dedicated shield player at this point, such a key part of the meta. You've got Canadian, Packers, Spirits, Forest. It feels like this SSG team doesn't have that.
No, I mean, since losing Forest, we haven't really seen SSG play that many shields. Fultz has dabbled in it a little bit, but if you also look at the operators, if Fultz isn't on the hard support role, nobody really else is. Yeah, you see Newers on the ace, but he uses it more as a flex entry. So Fultz is not only their sole singular support, but also their only prominent shield player. And that's been the biggest issue because the meta now, I mean, everybody's abusing the shields, the BB, the Blitz. None of these players have the ability to play it, but also at the same time, they're such talented players. Putting one of them on that shield is almost a hindrance to their talent because they are so much better against their gun skill. But one thing that I want to be able to see is if running shield or not, the fact is, bringing a shield forces the teammates to play off of each other. And that's where they had success with Forest. They'd make plays off of that shield entry. That's what we just saw OXG do. So if SSG doesn't want to bring those shields, they still need to be able to have that same ideology of playing off of each other.
Well, they can do that on a variety of maps, as we know. We've seen both of these teams showcase a couple of different maps, definitely a good variety coming into the playoffs. Obviously, M80 showing us a little bit more, especially in that game against Shopify. Laxing, where do you think this one is
Definitely
headed?
respectful band to get rid of Border, not wanting to go back to that one. They just couldn't close it out yesterday, and for SSG, very comfortable map. What is it going to be? Labs, this makes perfect sense from M80. They had the most success out of this. Granted, they did lose their game, but in terms of just how they play it, I do think it fundamentally plays more in their favor, especially because they can use those shields on the side of SSG. This is where shields really can help you get into the building, not just allowing you to get open the walls, but that shield can be so oppressive with opening up that site, relaying that information. So maybe we will see Fultz be able to adopt a little bit of Monty play there, but the Chalet, that's going to be the scrappy one for me. That's going to be the similar to Consulate, where we're going to need to really see who's walking away with that first opening engagement and then playing that number game until the round is done.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Labs, great pick because SSG, we saw them play it against Wildcard.
Smoked.
That was the reason why they were getting picked. And that's what we talked about with SSG not being able to help each other. They're too far away. So bigger maps usually don't work out in SSG's favor, which explains M80's bans leading up into this series. But also, Chalet, you can't ban all the small maps. SSG's gonna get one. But Skyscraper being left alone, yes, M80 is a team that's 7-0 XG on it. They're good on Skyscraper, but it is a more aggressive defender-sided map. It's going to encourage SSG to play off of each other. So honestly, looking at it, I would say in this series, M80 is the better team. But SSG won the map ban phase, in my opinion, because of Chalet Skyscraper.
Interesting. At this point, I think we've learned to just kind of throw expectations out the window. Like on paper, M80, they got knocked out in the upper bracket semis. They at least advanced around. SSG did not. Does that mean, in your mind, Lax, M80 are the clear favorites here? Or like Fox said, does this sway maybe SSG?
I don't think they're the clear favorites, but I am more leaning towards M80 just given their performance against SR. That again, it's those mid to late round comms that are truly hindering their performance, whether it's on attack or defensive side, where if they can just clean that up, and again, they really need it here today or else they're going to be done. So if they can just clean that up for that alone and for many of those reasons, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think M80 just showed us so much more, and if they can just clean up those late game little issues where they get overwhelmed, M80 should win this game. SSG, we haven't seen that much impressiveness from them, especially in that wildcard game.
All right, well, once again, elimination on the line, a spot for the top 4 on the line. It is SSG and M80, and we've got a little caster swap for you. It is Parker and Jesse taking over.
Thank you so very much. It's good to be back in the saddle after a decently long day yesterday, and we're going to have another long day today. Jesse, you forgot your hat.
What?
I mean, I know. I'm sorry. I led you astray. You thought we were going to go bareheaded, but no. One of these teams will finish in the top 4. The other will go home. We are in the lower bracket quarterfinals. Lower bracket, not losers bracket. Community vote is as divided as one can get. 53% of you favoring Spacestation, 47% saying that M80 will succeed and go on through. We will start on the a map that you and I have casted unrelentingly, which is Nighthaven Labs.
We have, Parker. We've cast a lot of Nighthaven, so we know what to expect on a map like this. It's one of those maps that can be very tricky to attack on certain of these bomb sites. The top floor in particular can be really tough to crack for a lot of attacking teams. The operator bans have just come in, and we've got basically as standard as the bans get. All 4 bans targeting the hard walls. The IT wall, super important on this map. The Animus wall down in the basement, super important as well. So there's a lot of reasons to ban out those electricity operators as well as the hard breach operators. And so, yeah, these are statistically the 4 most common opening bans on Nighthaven. No surprises to start things off. You already mentioned it, Parker. This is an extremely important game for both M80 and SSG. We casted M80 in a brutal game yesterday. There's nobody that was saying these NAL playoffs would be easy. M80 started their run down 5-1 to their friends on Oxygen. They had to make a crazy comeback just to escape the first round of playoffs. Then, of course, winning that first map against SR, then losing 8-7, 8-7, choking away their land spot to be here in the lower bracket. And now they go against SSG, a top 6 team at the last Invitational, a team that's made the last 7 international events in a row. It's not going to be a simple task, but after all that they've been through, you have to imagine M80 will be ready for such a challenge.
Oh, both of these teams could easily be in the top 4. Unfortunately for fans and this region, only one of them will be. I mean, you've got world champions on one side of the coin. You've got major winning champions on the other. This should be a battle of the giants. I will say that. But preface it just by saying that I expected OXG versus Wildcard to be a more competitive match as well, and I was definitely wrong about that one. Wildcard just simply did not show up to the level that we had hoped that they could show up to. I mean, if you're a fan of Oxygen, you are overjoyed to hear that, should you not have watched the actual match, because it was not particularly close. Gunner will start things off. He's had a rough first map in almost every single series here in the playoffs. And with the very first kill, maybe the tides are turning.
It's a big one to get. A trade back onto him, though, will take down Gunner. So the roam play, maybe a bit too aggressive, got a nice opener. I think you take that trade regardless. A Malusi for a Blackbeard feels pretty good if you're M80. So, yeah, he goes 1-1. He's not a player who's known to survive very long on these defensive rounds, but he'll happily take the trade. He's done his job. He set his team up really nicely. They've still got the Suzami piloted by Gavin playing over towards Rafters. So despite IT being opened up, it's not like SSG have a ton of control. They still don't have a good way into the bomb sites. Electrical is probably going to be the second dimension that they're going to want for this push. I'm not sure if they've taken much control over there. It does still seem like M80 have a lot of bodies that side. So if you're SSG, you're still looking for another opening. Get in somebody towards Fish, get somebody in towards Electrical, try to crack this nut.
A tough nut to crack. So you send in a Dane. Gavin goes down. Benja with 2. Benja's also had a sluggish playoff so far and a terrible group stage by his standards as well. The lowest rated player on SSG on that role is quite frustrating. Now Fultz will have some issues with his secondary, or with his main hard breach, as he looks to open up one of those secondary walls leading towards the bomb site. Back to a 3v3 these will go. No real utility here on the side of M80, Jesse. Just one nitro cell to deal with. So you're going to have to go just for straight fragging potential. Can't be the same set on the side of SSG. They've got a smoke and 2 flashes in pocket with 20 seconds left.
Ashen's still below. I mean, this is really late to be hunting for picks. He'll run up the Fish stairs at the end of this execute, but 17 seconds, and he's still not with his team.
Now, this is a very belated push from Space Station. I do worry for their sake about them stalling out. M80 will clobber them in the final moments of the round, picking up all 3 kills. A 3v3 becomes a 3v0, and M80 will take round 1.
Yeah, nice little defensive play. Again, we kind of expect the defensive side of Nighthaven to come out on top, and we saw that at the start. Really do appreciate Gunner's opening pick. Again, he only went 1 for 1, and he's a player we've talked about a lot so far through these playoffs, but he's the guy that's taking the vast majority of these opening gunfights, especially on defense. He's got a 46% entry participation rate, which means almost half of all opening engagements on the defensive side for M80 are coming from Gunner, and that's, of course, due to the positions that he likes to play. He's going to get aggressive in these early games. Sometimes that means he goes down, but when you clean up the tip of the spear, when you clear out Newers on that Blackbeard, it makes all the difference for the rest of this round. SSG weren't really able to get a second dimension going in that push. It was supposed to be Ashen on Fish Stairs. That was supposed to be that second dimension, but you saw it in the replay. Shut down easily by Hot and Cold, and it's a good start for M80.
I've seen so much Nighthaven Labs that just kind of, my eyes just kind of blur. I black out for a second, and all of it just kind of mixes together. Before we got into this match today, you're like, I'm really excited to cast a map we haven't really seen much. And I was like, oh, was it like Consulate? I was thinking maybe even a Skyscraper. And you're like, Nighthaven Labs. I was like, curse you, Jesse. You have just made yourself a powerless enemy.
I think I'll be okay with that.
I have to say it.
Huh?
Just because we do talk about it from time to time, M80 is known for their prowess on attack. If they can run up the score here as defenders on this map, that will be quite nice for them. This is an attacker-sided map, so given M80's prowess on attack, given the fact that Nighthaven Labs also skews toward the attackers, irrespective of what you're like as a team, if SSG falls behind in this first half, I mean, hopes for them at that point to close out this map in a good way, meaning they win. Well, those hopes can be dashed very quickly and might just fall apart. If M80 can take like 2 quick rounds here to go up 3-0, I do worry about SSG's mental.
Yeah, I agree. I think M80 have been a better attacking team, even specifically on Nighthaven Labs. They have a slightly higher attacking win rate on this map. We've casted this map a lot. They've played it a lot, so there's quite a large sample size, but they're good on both sides too. I will say SSG's defenses have been much better than their offenses. All stage, the attack has been where SSG have struggled, so maybe there's some hope there once we get to the opposite side, but with M80, how good they can be on Nighthaven attacks, yeah, it is not going to be simple. First Nitro Cell from Kino did a ton of damage to Newers, but somehow he's alive. I think he'd have more HP if he'd been downed by that Nitro and then picked back up, but he's going to have to suffer with just the 1 health he has remaining. With IT open, it does open themselves up to a storage plant if they want to go for it, but based on positioning, looks like they want to clear through the entirety of top floor. Gives them a few more options when they do go for that execute.
M80 is prepared and ready for this top floor take too, which makes an awful lot of sense given that similar to all maps, you want to clear from the top down if the bomb site isn't on that top floor. Kino, for the time being, looks to be all on his lonesome as flashbangs go out and he can't see a damn thing, but nobody from Space Station is able to follow up that quickly off of it. They'll have to cut through the Kiba barriers thrown out by Gavin, not by Kino, though Kino will take advantage of their cover. SSG in danger of falling behind yet again. They'll lose Benjamaster, a huge C4 from Hot and Cold, grabs Fultz and Newers. And I mean, the time isn't really going to be the issue here, Jesse. All 5 M80 players still alive on full HP. Gunner will be the first one to take some damage, but SSG is basically dust at this point, about to be blown away. Kino taking down J90, and Ashen is just going to run for the hills and take a timeout with 20 seconds left. This round is over. M80 will win no matter what the clock says. A flawless round for M80. And we've been seeing a lot of timeouts after round 2. Do you think SSG officially calls it here, Jesse?
I think there's a good chance Callout will want to say something. SSG know that they need to get a good couple of rounds here on the attack. This was storage as well. Most teams will run their secondary site in the basement on Nighthaven, and then storage and control will be their third site that they'll go to. M80 have been a bit of an exception to that. I mean, they play both storage and the bottom floor quite an equal amount on defense, so maybe it's not a huge surprise they don't want to go basement just yet, but I think SSG know that they need to get some attacking rounds early in this game if they want to stand a chance. And just with how rough these attacks have looked, I think calling the attack here from Callout is the right decision. maybe settle some nerves. I mean, this isn't a map that SSG are necessarily expecting to walk away with. You look at the series, Foxley said on the desk that he thought SSG actually won the map veto phase, but that's more because of what maps 2 and 3 look like. Nighthaven Labs, I think, was always going to be a map where M80 were the favorites on. Of course, they were on a 3-game win streak up until 24 hours ago when they lost this map 8-7 to Shopify Rebellion. So it probably should be a 4-game win streak for M80 on Nighthaven, but it didn't quite go that way on the day yesterday. For SSG, their last 2 games were both against Wildcard on this map, both at Reload and Wednesday. And they got 5 rounds across 2 BO1s on this map. So you look at the history, it should be M80 favored, but even still, you want to do everything you can to get some attacks. And yeah, we just haven't seen much good attacking prowess so far.
It's a system that Callout expects his players to buy into. And I mean, SSG does have a smaller new look, which was Newers coming onto the team. The addition of Newers on the roster, though, does seem to have had a bit of a ripple effect on Benjamaster. Benja used to be relied upon on this team alongside Ashen as one of those 2 main entry fraggers. He's taken a bit of a more passive role, and he does more support jobs and support duties when playing on attack. And typically it allows Newers to flourish. Newers has been among the highest rated players in North America through countless stages. Admittedly, a lot of that was back during that Finca LMG meta, where we saw a number of players excelling because of the meta, and they weren't able to keep up after some nerfs came into those operators. But I don't think anybody is doubting Newers' bona fides. He's still a terrific fragger. He's still very mechanically gifted. He can compete with the best of the best of them. It's just put Benjamaster, I think, in a bit of a weirder spot, and I don't really know what his identity is on the team or what they want out of him, but more often than not, I find he has bad games these days, which he shouldn't be having.
Yeah, well, after Reload, Benja flexed over to the flex position, no longer playing on that entry, but looks like we got a rush. Newers in the Blackbeard for his 3rd attempt. Does get stalled out by Hot and Cold on the Azami, though. They're getting kills.
Oh! It was a flawless round previously. Could it be had by SSG? Same way. Gunner and Diffuser, the last 2 standing. Case getting planted, and now it's all up to Diffuser. Tears some strips out of these players, but doesn't accomplish very much. M80 got a couple good looks, but none good enough to find even a single kill. Spacestation clobbering them and getting Diffuser down. It's about as close to a perfect round as you can get without taking any damage whatsoever. Could that have just simply been the bomb site as well? Rush in, get through the window, get the Diffuser down. You can't really do that on all the other bomb sites here on Labs. Yeah,
I think the bomb site has a huge effect in that round because obviously M80 had the choice. They could go kitchen cafeteria or they could go into the basement for tank and assembly. 90% of teams are going to go into the basement there, but M80 have a horrible defensive win rate on the basement of Nighthaven Labs. They've played it 5 times this stage. They've only been successful once. So a 20% win rate, I think, has dissuaded M80 from going back to that bomb site. They said, let's try kitchen cafeteria. It's not a common pick. Maybe it'll throw SSG off guard, but that didn't really work out. SSG clearly had a great game plan. They might have expected that M80 could go to this bomb site, just given how the stats have looked for M80 on the basement. So I do think SSG were prepared for that. Nice little Blackbeard rush coming through. M80 not respecting the Blackbeard enough to warrant a ban. They did deal with it very nicely through the first 2 rounds. So I don't hate that they didn't ban it away, but I thought it was an option for them based on how afraid of Newers they were. Back-to-back-to-back rounds, we saw one of those entry players in SSG bringing that shield operator, and we might not see it again going forward, but it's good to see that they can get their wins with the Blackbeard. It's something the desk we're talking about, that lack of a shield presence from SSG. It's still something they're really trying to develop and work into their identity.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
No Blackbeard ban, and yet no Blackbeard picked right away. He's a strong operator, but as we've seen through the playoffs, there are blunders that happen with these shield ops. You know, we are in a current point in the meta where shields are almost always required. SSG obviously missed that memo here. SSG also got rid of their top shield player by getting Forrest off of the squad. He's made it decently deep here and qualified top 4 as he's playing on that OXG roster now, but there's not really a good fit, I think, for SSG to run dedicated shields the way that a lot of the other top teams do. And even if you look at a team like SSG, just because shields are required doesn't mean you're going to have a player who feels comfortable on that role. And you know, Monty is strong, Blitz can be very strong, Blackbeard can be strong, but if you have no idea what you're doing with them and your team doesn't know how to play around them, in a lot of cases, you are better served to just bring 5 full fragging operators without shields.
Yeah.
I think that's the idea behind it for SSG here.
Yeah, some sense. A lot more difficult to take this wall without a Habana. They do get it soft eventually, but it's way slower. That's why M80 wanted to ban out 3 hard breachers. Never expect to keep it closed the whole round, but delays a lot more time. So I think M80 are still going to be quite happy with how things have gone over on the IT wall. Benja alone down on the first floor. There are no roamers for him to contend with, so he should have free reign down here on the Buck to make some chaos, try to force some movement out of these players on M80, but they haven't really had to give up too much space, right? They're pretty happy still playing top of fish, still playing in electrical, still playing in the site. Their Raptors player is still here as well, right? Gavin doesn't feel like he has to give this up just yet. I say it, he's playing a little bit farther back, and they might not be able to reinforce this, so some ground taken from SSG.
SSG can perform better than those first 2 rounds. We'll have ourselves a competitive contest. Not admittedly that that's so much of a challenge because one of those was won flawlessly and the other might as well have been. But again, you said it. M80 are not necessarily the defender team that we come to expect. So the fact that they are up at the moment on a map that skews towards the attackers and they are an attacking team, it is a little bit astonishing, but as astonishing maybe is too dramatic of a word. We could say that it's unexpected and SSG need to pick up the pace. Less about M80, more about SSG at this point in time. And they found the first kill. It comes with 30 seconds left on the clock. They'll find a second for their trouble. Ashen could have had a third as well as Kino walks back to the bomb site, turns his back, guns down the Buck, and Gunner's got a pair of kills along with Kino finding one as well. The advantage that Space Station had is completely gone. M80 now just needs to sit and wait as Diffuser will get on the board. Who's going to find J90? Inside the bomb site, Gunner will get the job done, and he is locked in. You can see it right there. I think that was a 3K for Gunner in that round, Jesse, and with it, M80 goes back to their winning ways.
Indeed, Gunner started that round at 2, got the finals. That will be a nice little 3K coming out from the primary roamer of M80. A good start to this game after some of the starts he's had through playoffs so far. Even with a 2-man advantage, SSG struggling to get this execute put together. I feel like, Parker, we see this time and time again on the top floor of Nighthaven Labs, where an attacking team will get IT control, they'll get Rafters control, but then they just struggle so much getting into the bomb site. If you're not able to clear out kind of the back of CC and you're not able to clear out electrical, all of a sudden you don't have a good plant spot to get in. You're always fighting crossfires as you try to work your way from Rafters into the bomb site. It feels like the attackers never have that positioning, and I get it, right? It can be really tricky sometimes to get control of fish, to get control of jungle, to have that second dimension to your push, but it does feel like it is absolutely vital for this top floor push. So often we see these attacking teams struggle to get in when they only have pressure coming in from one dimension. M80, they might not have had numbers, but they had all the crossfires they ever could have wanted, really well put together.
Half of the way through this, or rather half of the way for M80, they've picked up 3 of these 6 rounds, meaning SSG are not capable of matching the tallies that most teams do as an attacking side on Nighthaven Labs. That is immediately bad. It can still continue to get worse. Des talked a little bit yesterday about expectations for SSG and how they have seemingly regressed as a squad. I mean, the game obviously has changed, quite literally. We've gone from Rainbow Six Siege to Jack, so different game. But beyond that, I mean, the game now favoring shields, which again, it seems to be an Achilles heel from this SSG squad, not having a comfortable player right there. And then times where they just lack consistency in the fragging department. I hate to sound so negative, Jesse, but this SSG team just sometimes gets me down. They have a lot of tools that really can just match up against the tools on the other teams and be put to good use. But SSG aren't capable of doing it, at least not in this current point in time. They still could finish in the top 4. But I mean, a start like this to Nighthaven Labs does not build a lot of confidence for the team.
Yeah, they'll definitely need their mental to be strong later in this series. Still attacking on this main floor. This is where they have an opportunity to get an entry. It's going to be Ashen, the first one to die, though. Up on the top floor, falls to Gavin, who works his way now in around those top floor rooms. This has been really tough. They haven't really applied much pressure to the top floor. Gavin's just playing a mirror window, got a freebie pick onto Ashen. He's got still Kino and Diffuser to hold top floor with them. Now, Benja's looking into the site. He can smell the bomb site from where he's at, but he knows if he goes in, if Faults tries to get a plant from inside of control without vert pressure, I mean, this should not be a possible plant.
Benja just waiting now, but you can't be sticking somebody on flank watch when you're down in numbers. I worry about Fultz's HP as he escorts that diffuse case in closer to the bomb site. SSG has control. Gavin gunning down Fultz. What remains is now gone. Houghton flicks over and takes care of Benja. SSG's attacks are looking so limp at the moment, and M80 yet again have survived up to this point without losing a player. As I say that, J90 slaughters Houghton, so finally a kill for Space Station. They sure have their work cut out for them, don't they? J90 doing some damage from below, but Gavin returns fire onto Newers, and now Jack's position in the bomb site, watched by a bulletproof camera, will be ended by Gunner as he gets the final kill of the round. M80 are just speed running this first map.
When SSG last played Nighthaven Labs, that was, of course, versus Wildcard on Wednesday. They went 0 for 3 on their attacks. They didn't get a single offensive round. They didn't have a huge sample size, but even still, that was where they struggled on that map. And I think we're seeing it again today. Sure, they got one round attacking onto Kitchen Cafeteria, but I mean, on the other bomb sites, these attacks just aren't inspiring. You go back to the storage round, and you've got players pushing in through control without having any pressure up above. Fault was inside of garage, and Gavin from Rafters just swung the mirror window. That was never dealt with. Was able to take down the IGL of Space Station. That's Diffuse Kit on the ground. That's full panic mode from SSG. It feels like these are real basics of Nighthaven Labs when it comes to these top floor and mid floor bomb sites, right? Getting pressure either in towards fish or in towards control, or in towards electrical. Then on that mid-floor bomb site, having some top floor presence, or at least being able to deny the swing out from Rafters so that you can safely move through bottom garage, you can safely move into storage to go for a plant. Just really feels like SSG are having a lot of problems on these Nighthaven attacks. I really hope that we see some better attacks from them when we get to the decider map of Skyscraper, when we get to their map pick of Chalet, because if this is what their attacks are going to look like through the whole series, I mean, it'll be M80 top 4, no question.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have seen very little through these 5 rounds to give me any indication whatsoever that Space Station will be a top team to get to the top 4. Gunner was looking to throw an impact to go for a run out there, but I think SSG are just a bit too quick to the punch. I don't think Gunner's going to survive this onslaught. Now it's the Blackbeard just continuing to run on in. The cavalry has arrived. SSG finds 2 opening picks. Not just Gunner, but Diffuser will die elsewhere. And that's the Legion down 45 seconds into the round. A devastating operator to lose. Logic bombs will come out to add insult to injury. And what just seemed like a bit of isolated fighting has now taken over the remainder of this map. M80 knocked onto their back foot thanks to SSG's aggressive entry.
Don't get too excited. The last time it was a 5v3 for SSG. It did not end in their favor. They've still got some strong roam positions. Gavin inside of storage will be a one-man army. He needs to answer back with some frags. They clearly know his position. It's not a surprise that he's going to be in storage. He needs to answer one back. It's going to be Newers and Kino that trade top vending. So now it's even more important, but the Blackbeard offers no opportunity. Kino is just sitting down in the site. There's little he can do to assist Gavin. He's going to play up on the vending stairs now to try to make some kind of a crossfire, but he can't help with this Blackbeard rush.
And he gets slaughtered for it. Knocked down, completely turned inside out, and hot and cold in a 1v3 against a shield. I feel like I spent a good solid 2-3 rounds talking about SSG's inability to find a comfortable shield player, and they've got Ashen now rocking on that Blackbeard. Out pops one of those Goyo canisters. Logic Bomb will give Hot and Cold's position away as Ashen is tucked in very neatly. Doesn't even get the diffuser down because the guy who usually plants it kills him. Hot and Cold, that is. Before it can go down, a 4-2 half favoring the defenders of M80 is excellent for them, especially as they now go on to attack. But a 5-1 half was definitely there. Space Station managed to save it in the final round, but really have to step it up here in the second half.
It's interesting how halfway through the game so far, we've seen the Blackbeard position shift from Newers over towards Ashen. Felt like Ashen was able to get a little bit more success with it. Obviously, he played a ton of shields back at Reload. That was his worst event of his career, so he kind of swore off them coming into this stage. He still played them here and there. He had 2 rounds on Blackbeard coming into this and 4 rounds on Blitz prior to this game, so he's dabbled in the shields, but hasn't played them too often. Good round from him, though. I really thought that he did a good job isolating targets, making sure that he was finding 1v1 engagements so he couldn't get shot in from the back. And then, of course, choosing the right plant spot just at the end, cleaning up that 5v3 advantage, only for the first of 2 times, though. So 4-2 split favoring M80. They go on to their favorite half. SSG also go on to their favorite half, right? It's not all about the stats of M80. SSG have all stage long struggled on their attacks. They've been a lot better on their defensive side, 61% for defense, 45% for offense. So it gets a lot better for SSG on this second half too. I think there is hope to bring this one back, although M80 is still feeling the dominant position. And as op bans are concerned, we don't ban out any hard breaches. It's the double shield ban from SSG.
I mean, M80 has comfortable shield players. Hot and Cold has done his best to replace Spirits on this team, and I did troll through the subreddit yesterday, just reading what the Redditors seem to think about the results. And there was a lot of finger pointing at Hot and Cold for his shield play. I don't really think that was the major issue with M80 in their matchup against Shopify Rebellion yesterday. But I mean, again, there are smarter people than me out there. Do I think Hot and Cold is as good as Spirits on shields? No, I don't. But I also think Spirits might be the best shield player in North America at the present time. I mean, Dark Zero obviously succeed when he excels in that role. But I mean, you're going to need to have a shield op. Hot and Cold is going to be the guy. He's been playing shield since before they were in vogue, before they were in the meta. And obviously with this double shield ban, you've got 2 options at this point. You can run a Fuse Shield, which is a poor substitute for Blitz or for Monty. Or you bring a Blackbeard, which gives you a bit more fragging potential, but you're a little bit more exposed and vulnerable from a shield perspective. So there are trade-offs here. A pulse on the board for SSG is something that we don't see all too often, but I like this call. They know exactly now where the attackers are going to come from. And honestly, against a team like M80, you're going to need everything you can get to slow down this assault. Jane, I know. How do you win that duel against Hodden? SSG have broken things open, and we're not even a minute into action.
Hot and Cold tweeted after yesterday's game that he costed his team on the final map on Border, and whether that was all his shield play or whether that comes down to other aspects of his game, the shield play is certainly not good for the first round of offense from M80. That's a tough one to lose, even if it was a great flick from J90. Man advantage being held by SSG, but it's only by 1. Never mind, it's by 2. J90 having a hell of a round. Bomb site's not top floor. They've gone storage instead. 3 beautiful shots so far from Jack will make this a near unlosable round for SSG.
Yeah, I mean, barring Diffuser getting in phenomenal clutch here, which right now nobody from SSG will give him any quarter. 1 over by Fish, 1 over by IT. Who's the intended target? Where do you go first? Keep in mind, J90's got an embarrassing amount of goo mines already spread out across the map. He's got 2 in pocket. Another one will be generating, and there's still over a minute to go. The L85's a terrific weapon, and Diffuser's a good player, but kind of hard when you've got a shotgun aimed at center mass, and Newers can play the angle so effectively. SSG survives on their very first defense, and not just survives, thrives. That is a much needed round, because if M80 wins that, they get momentum, they find themselves in a very favorable scoreline. But now it's a 1-round game. And honestly, we are looking at a defender-sided Nighthaven Labs, at least from the way the teams are playing. M80 looked a little bit scared there on their entry. They looked a little bit confused. They will have to tighten up for the next round, because they themselves are going to be worried about stalling out.
Very good round, of course, coming out from the best KDR player on SSG. J90 has quietly been the best player on this team throughout the season so far. He has the 2nd most deaths on this team, or 2nd fewest deaths on this team, I should say, just after Newers, and then the 2nd most kills just coming in after Ashen. So he's been very consistent in some of those more supportive anchor roles. We're seeing that come alive as these role changes in SSG have kind of necessitated him to take a bit of a backseat, filling in some of those roles that Forrest was playing sometimes in that more passive position to allow Newers to thrive in the spots that he was brought in to thrive in. Hot and Cold again going to stick on the shield, and I think him on shields is an interesting conversation to have. I put out a YouTube video a couple of days ago talking about kind of the shield meta in Siege, and in that vid, I called Hot and Cold the best shield player on Beast Coast during their major winning run, and I got a lot of, I think, confused comments about that. people forget Houghton was the primary shield player on Beast Coast, and was, even when Spirits was starting to play more and more shields, that's because he was just the Monty guy, right? Spirits never really played the big shield. Spirits was good on Blitz, but back in that Manchester run, it felt like Beast Coast were almost entirely relying on the Monty, very little on the Blitz. So Houghton has long been the guy who has stood on these more passive shields. I will say, since Spirits left this team, he's had to play a bit more of an aggressive role, playing more of the Blackbeard, more of the Blitz. So that's been a bit of a role change from him. But don't think he's not good with an IGL position, with a shield in front of his face. He can be extremely effective in this role for M80.
Let's see how it plays out here. You saw those Selmas go off, opening things up. Diffuser will use now a second Selma to try and get a larger vantage point, and an entry point, rather, for Fultz, who's over by Vending and can very easily scoot downstairs on Clash. He will be the main impediment. He knows he can't take any engagements directly, but one thing that SSG did very well in the previous round was swinging windows and taking odd angle fights against M80. It did catch M80 off guard. J90 was just recalled from the basement, and we'll see if he, with Fultz, can get an early pick, as Diffuser is quite vulnerable by that breach.
Kino's kind of clearing through the top floor. It's interesting he's using these SAM cams to see through the floorboards to try to help his teammates navigate through this Vending situation. It's very obvious to SSG what M80 want to do. They've not taken much map control. They're just simply going to take this through Cafeteria into EXO for the finisher. But now starting to move around a little bit more. They do have to contend with Ashen, who's just sitting at the top of Cargo as he's starting to face a little bit more pressure, aware of the movements of SSG. Sitting on a drone for now, but with him on Cargo and Fultz on Vending, there's no good routes for M80 to get into the bottom floor. They've got to be able to crack one of these two routes if they want to get to the bomb site.
Very slow attacks have been the story so far through 7 rounds. This 8th round is just as sluggish. Diffuser and Ashen will perfectly trade each other out. That was Diffuser who was in harm's way earlier against that Clash, where we thought J90 might have been the one to do some damage. After all that stalling on Vending, Fultz can now find some safety downstairs. And it looks like M80 might be running behind the clock, using breach charges, using their can openers with only 20 seconds remaining, and now a death drop in towards the bomb site as Newer stays hidden. He gets splattered by Hot and Cold, who now with Kino can attempt to get a defuse planted. M80 thought that the clock was working against them, but they found 2 kills. Now it's Fultz and J90 to shut this down. Hot and Cold suffering through it, but J90 has just saved the round. M80 fall apart inside the bomb site, leaving Gavin upstairs alone and unable to affect the objective. SSG played from behind. Fultz and J90 spent most of that round sitting in the same spot, and they get called into action with just a couple seconds left and save the round for Space Station. High game on Nighthaven Labs.
Man, Jack Burkard, the 23-year-old from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, stepping up huge on the defensive side for SSG to keep them competitive in this matchup. It really felt like we were going to see M80 run away with this game, but it was going to be these late round plays, the anchor position from J90, which is constantly finding the biggest value. That pick to stop the diffuser right before it went down made all the difference to be able to clutch things out. He's now 7 and 5 on this defensive half. At the halftime, he was sitting far lower than that. Just after the attacking side, it really didn't feel like he was going to be the player to save SSG, but I mean, here we are. It was 3 and 5 at the half swap, so already 4 big kills, all of them having impact on the second half. He's not been a guy that's necessarily been fragging out of his mind so far from SSG, not on the defense at least. He's more been an attacking player, but this game, the defensive side of Nighthaven, it's changing things.
Numbers don't always tell the full story. Nighthaven Labs has seen an explosion in play specifically because of how frequently it has occurred here in the playoffs. It's very familiar ground for all of these teams. I mean, M80 seems to have been the team playing it far and away the most. You touched on that as well. But yeah, I mean, where is this attacking M80 team? This unrelenting force where they can just walk in and get early picks. Hot and Cold is tied with Gunner right now for most kills. That is not something that should be happening. Hot and Cold's a great player, and he's not a purposefully built, dedicated hard support. He can frag out, he can flex. As you see right now, Kino is going to be their main hard support through most of these rounds. But where's Gavin? Gavin has been, dare I say it, up there with Diffuser as 1 and 2 best players on this M80 team so far through the playoffs, and Gavin has fallen away. Diffuser as well is having a rough go of it. Their fragging forces on the side of M80 are struggling to stack up against SSG at the moment.
Some early gunfights from Ashen. Wants to get aggressive on the breach player and finds hot and cold. He was shooting the Capital Bolt as he went down. That's a beauty shot for Ashen to hit. Gets the opening pick then for SSG, but answered back as his teammate Benja does go down. That leaves Ashen a little bit alone. He gets out of there ASAP. As soon as his Danish partner fell, he fell right down the hatch. So 1 minute and 30 to clear out the top floor. You go 1 for 1 on the side of M80. I still think you're pretty happy with this. You've got Kino on the thermite. He just took 99% damage, but you still have him to start to open up the wall from the bottom of lobby. As long as he survives, doesn't hit a goo mine or anything, he should be okay to open this up. Good vert pressure coming in from M80. SSG will need some strong anchor play and maybe some good play enabled by Newers on that clash as well if they want to hold this one down.
One thing that SSG has been doing so successfully, which is a bit of a hallmark of the standard SSG, is being aggressive on swinging openings, be they breaches, windows, doors, etc. SSG is a team that loves to go for their spawn peaks, but here they realize that M80 likes to set up. SSG is denying them that opportunity. By being so aggressive and acting so forwardly, M80 is a bit reluctant to take engagements. Diffuser guns down Ashen, so while that initial burst of action might have favored Spacestation, M80 will instead gain a numbers advantage. But again, they're running out of time. 20 seconds, same predicament as we saw in the previous round. Flashes will now go out. Fultz activating those smart goggles. And amidst that, he can find one pick, looking for a second. And oh my goodness, M80 has turned their backs to the forces on Space Station. 3 in a row for SSG as Gavin will not be able to get it done. And the lead goes to the astronauts.
Not enough information. Unfortunately, the coverage just not there. Great moves from Fultz in the late round. I said they needed some great anchor position, and I think that's really what Fultz was able to bring to the table in that round. Making the move on the Warden, was able to get through the many flashes that M80 brought to that defense. We didn't quite catch it, but Newers had a brilliant pick as well that started off that chain of events. Getting that kill on Aquino was really massive for that defensive half as well from SSG. And this has now been a flawless second half from Space Station. Once again, that 61% defensive prowess coming in strong for SSG. M80 have been a good attacking team coming into playoffs. They were the best attacking team in the North America League. But after some tough games against both OXG and SR, they lost that title. Their attacking win rate, while it's still good, has fallen to 54%. And you combine that with a map that they've attacked a lot, Nighthaven Labs, 17 attacking rounds recorded from M80 just in this stage alone, you start to think, well, maybe that attacking win rate is starting to turn on its head a little bit. Maybe the footage is just there from SSG, and they know exactly what's going to be coming out from these M80 guys.
Both teams now taking their timeouts, and they'll set us up very well for the remaining 2, potentially 3 rounds here. Try not to read too much into those numbers, right? And again, when you have a team like M80 who's so proficient on attack, and then we see them in their matchups, starting off against OXG in the upper bracket quarterfinals. That was our first match, then obviously against Shopify yesterday. You do begin to wonder if it's just that there's small enough sample sizes.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not critiquing the format here, but only 9 games of group stages, of which I think it's fair to argue you're playing up against 3 teams, maybe 4 that are a pace back of the rest of the league. There's only so much we can draw from those numbers. And it's the same reason why when we go to live events and we see through the group stages, oh yeah, you know, this is a defender-sided cafe. Well, it's only been played twice. You can't really gain a lot from that. We use these numbers and these stats just to pad out the broadcast and give people perspective as to where we are right now, but it doesn't tell the full story. SSG are thriving here. As defenders, again, they are knocking M80 off of their stride. SSG are not being passive. They're not letting M80 get set up. They're not letting M80 gain all this intel from these drones. Space Station are taking a very forward approach. And when you've got good gunners on the side of SSG, as frankly all 5 of them are, Fultz tends to get the most flack, but that's more about his role. You can take those engagements, and if you win those engagements, you are defanging that entire execute from M80. And SSG has done it successfully now 3 rounds in a row.
got a Nook versus Valkyrie combo coming up. Not an easy engagement for the Nook if you don't know where those cameras are. I believe one was put IT, one was put just at the top of Fish Stairs, and then one was put inside of Vending, just flicking back through the through the VOD. So might come across one of those soon towards the Vending Stairs. Gunnar dodging those will be absolutely important. Of course, with the new Nook changes, you never really need to turn this gadget off. So hopefully he can avoid those cameras and start to make a sneaky play. He's getting past one of them right now. J9O just flicked past the cam too. I don't believe there's anybody here on the stairway, but I mean, it's movement that won't be read by SSG.
Deploying shock drone.
Again, M80 have been slow on time, largely because of Space Station. I wonder if they'll have tackled that during the timeout. We see a very forward defense from Space Station. Yet again, that thing that we were just talking about. Look at Benja. He's guarding the opening in IT. He set himself up quite nicely. There's a Kiba barrier blocking him from over towards Rafters, but I don't think he's been droned out here. Kino will take down Ash, and again, it's another trade. J9O hits Gunnar as they're all spread out across the map. M80, no cohesion at the moment. Maybe the idea was spread out. Let's track down these offsite players and beat them in 1v1 gunfights. If that was the idea, it has not worked.
That's the problem with a Nook, right? You have to play very far from your teammates because that's just how the gadget works. And if you go down to a random swing from J9O, they'd even find him on a cam, but that's still going to be the death of you. Now Diffuser's got to try to make some magic happen, but J9O has not slowed down even once this game. 2v4 for M80. What can they do?
I mean, I don't know what you can do. They allowed Space Station to once again set up and control the pace here. Usually we're accustomed to seeing attackers control the pace through much of the round. Gavin and Han Cold is the last two remaining. Han's in the bomb site, but there's one below, and he needs to be a little bit concerned with this. I don't know if he has a good read as to Fultz's location. There is a bulletproof camera on the board, and now panic will ensue as Houghton takes damage to his feet. He's on a single point of HP dropped by the secondary shotgun brought by Fultz. Gavin will have to do more work now. Eliminating Newers, 2 more players to be found, but guess what? One of them's on your floor, the other one is not. You are running out of time. You have no intel. Bullets will whiz over your head. What do you do if you're Gavin? You've got 8 different ways to try and win this round, and not a single one of them will work. Another round in a row for SSG, as now they're the ones speedrunning this map. Goodness gracious, they're on match point.
And it's another multi-kill coming out from J9O. I mean, how many times do we have to say this guy's name? He's having one of the best maps that we've seen from him all season long, being really effective on these defensive plays. Every swing, it feels like he's got an immediate magnet to the head of whoever he's looking for. Gunnar was on the Nook. He avoided multiple Valkyrie cameras, but it didn't matter. J9O at one point decides, let me swing lobby, see if anybody's in there, see if anyone's in lounge. There was Gunnar, got the opener, then killed the second player of, I believe it was Gavin or Diffuser. It was Diffuser trying to get into that storage bomb site as well. You mentioned it, M80, very solo by themselves. The first pick on a Gunnar here. Kino died, I think, on the IT breach just upstairs as he was trying to cover for a eventual plant.
Good fucking shit.
Good from you too, Jack. I mean, it's been a really, really strong second half.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
J9O is oftentimes the unsung hero of this team. He also plays those flex roles, but has huge moments no matter what. Pressure does not seem to affect him the way that it has in the past affected other players in this league. I do like that he's finally getting his flowers. He's always been on a team with players that have bigger personalities than him, bigger brands than him, and bigger moments than him, but he really does strike me a lot as the glue on the teams that he's been on. That's just me talking from a strategic standpoint. I have no idea what he's like as a person on a team. He's very, very pleasant outside of the game and outside of the matches, as are his family, for the record. You and I actually got to talk to his parents in Boston, and they are wonderful people. It does not surprise me at all that they were able to have such a nice child. But that said, it's not just about personality. J9O seems to be happy, seems to be jovial, and with it, the team stock can rise if he stays level-headed. And I mean, right now, he's leading his team and leading this match with 10 kills on roles that are often a little bit more challenging and not as kill-oriented.
He's an easy guy to cheer for, maybe a bit more difficult if you're an M80 fan because he needs to win 0 more rounds or else this is going to be M80 losing their own map pick in the most important game that they've played so far this season. Once again, it's going to be one of these basement holds coming out from SSG. Don't really have roamers too heavily at the very least. That Clash, of course, getting banned out from M80, so hot and cold's not going to have to deal with that. That's going to be something that they can worry about a little bit less. Ashen's still playing top of Cargo Stairs. That's going to be where he was playing previously on this Azami, and he traded 1-for-1 last time, don't forget. A clean clear onto this Azami player would be a big boon, and as he impacts himself, that will get a little easier.
What? Small mistake. Oh my, no, diffuser.
Oh.
How does that go from bad to worse? Absolutely dreadful stuff from M80 on a pivotal round. We use the term do or die here in more of just a broader sense, but this is literally a do or die round for M80. They die here, the 4 remaining players, and that's it. They lose their own map pick. It would be familiar territory. The same thing happened to them yesterday against Shopify Rebellion. They won SR's map. They lost their own. Ended up losing the best of 3, which is why they're in this predicament in the first place, and there is no saving grace this time. If M80 lose here, they are done. Same with SSG, but at the moment it's SSG sitting on match point, and their lead will grow as Hot and Cold is punished. That was the Blackbeard who detracted the attention of the defenders all across the board, but nobody was able to secure the kill. Kino will shortly join him in the afterlife at a double drop from M80 as Gavin gets 2, but Fultz saves the day and gives SSG yet another round in a row. My God, 5 consecutive round victories, and Space Station will steal M80's map.
Maybe it's the wrong thing to be caught up on, but I've just gone back and watched that diffuser shooting the leg of Benjamaster about 10 times, and I don't know how he did 0 damage. Regardless, big round from SSG, flawless second half. Their defenses look absolutely unbeatable. They are storming through this game against M80. With how close they came yesterday against Shopify Rebellion, you've got to imagine they were looking for more fight than that on their pick.
Have to imagine, I mean, they still have one more map. Chalet will be up next. Will we need the decider of Skyscraper? Right now, it looks a little unlikely. SSG are in full control. We've got a break ready, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Make invert on me, Fultz.
Running gen, I'm good now.
Top down, down. I'm not in a good spot. I'm playing under the side. Last drop.
Let's go, boy. Good fucking shit. Good job.
Dude, my mouse scroll just fucked me again. It just impacted.
From down 4-2 to up 7-4, SSG take 5 rounds in a row, and they steal M80's map pick from right under them. What a way to turn it up, kick it into gear, and steal this map away. That is a very good performance from SSG.
I mean, it was a great show of resilience for them to be able to know confidently that once they got to that defense, they were going to run away with it. And I think, I mean, we'll talk about it more too. SSG did a great job of playing together. That is the complete opposite of the SSG that we saw against Wildcard. Problem solving, fixing it, helping each other. That is exactly what we needed to see. But, you know, they played great. They knew that they had that defensive side at half. You know, M80, I hate to say it, feel like they kind of choked the mental game. They're kind of slipping away. SSG's a mental team. They're not going to lose that mental ability if you get a couple rounds on them.
Well, you brought it up. Some of the issues that M80 were having were glaring. So we'll talk about it first. Laxing their time management when it came to the attack. I mean, we were seeing so many attacks, that time ticking down, M80 just not kicking it into gear quick enough.
Yeah, it definitely still has to come down to comms here. I mean, it was a good idea to go for this push. They needed to get bombed down, but you only got 12 seconds left to go for this, and they do it well. They get everything that they need, but then I believe it's just a matter of understanding the position that you're playing from here. You just got to kill from here. Why hold that angle so aggressively? Make them believe that you're not there. Try to capitalize off of it. This round was extremely perplexing for the simple fact Fultz is just sitting in the corner, not droned out. And when you think of M80, talk about comm issues, I mean, that should just be a norm. If you're dwindling the time, you're bleeding out the clock, there should be someone in the back just saying, we haven't droned this. We don't know if this is clear. We can't go for this just yet. And you just see it time and time again with those rounds, just a failing of understanding what is going to happen or what can happen, especially when you're just running the clock, which again, that can definitely be a caveat of bad comms.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the communication, when you're in those late stage, late round scenarios, I mean, that's been the issue for M80, right? Like we talked about in the OXG game, this has been the downfall for M80. And I think that was the most observant that we've been able to see it, because they were cutting so many corners when they'd go for that execute. Common spots that should be droned. I mean, the Warden should have been droned in that position right there. There's no reason for M80 to be going for these plants and not checking the basic position.
What makes me curious, and I did this a lot when we played together, when the clock got down to like a minute 30, maybe a minute, like I was quick to be like, guys, we got a minute left. Fox, we got a minute left. Like, what are we doing? Like, and then you would immediately understand, okay, we got to make this happen. So it makes me question if anyone is actually just saying, hey, we don't have time left. We need to make something work. We need to get this information.
Well, obviously, M80 had some issues, as we've discussed. SSG, though, to turn it up from a 4-2 deficit to a 7-4 win, Fox, that takes a lot. I mean, everything has to be going well. Of course, M80 made their mistakes, but you need to be firing on all cylinders if you're going to win that dominantly for that many rounds in a row.
No, of course. I mean, a lot of teams, especially on defender-sided maps, if you just get 2 rounds, 3 rounds is even better. If you just get a couple rounds on your attacks, once you go into that defense, you can tell, even though they're enemy teams winning on defense, defense is the easier side. So SSG, I mean, mind you, they played really, really great trades when it came to their defenses and their attacks. And I think that's what we wanted to highlight is going into this, they only had an 8% trade. Already doubled it. They're up to 16%. So already one of the biggest factors that they were trying to focus on is those trades for every single death. But once you go onto defense, you are forced to obviously play a lot more together because you're on defense. But SSG was taking it a step further, and they were playing that calculated aggression, but off of each other. And that was what we've been seeing from SSG. And then once they played M80 in the regular phase, that's when we saw them try to implement playing slow. I feel like it just shook them all up a little bit, but they've been able to rally back, play the consistent style of SSG Siege that we wanted to see.
Well, and now SSG are going to be feeling incredibly good going into their own map pick of Chalet. I mean, this is exactly what they wanted going into this series, Lax. Now they're set up for success, and M80 have this awkward position of once again needing to recover it. Do they have it in them here, and what is it they need to do?
Again, I think you kick them when they're down here if you're SSG, but if you're M80, I think you just have to play into your basic functions, just being able to play together. Chalet is going to force that. Similar to what Nighthaven is when you're on defense, Chalet is going to force that even more. You're going to have to play off one another. You're going to have to be with each other. And again, I said going into what this map pool is going to look like, Chalet is going to be a scrappy one. It's going to play into both teams with their aggression and being able to fight one another, and who's going to be walking away with that opening pick to then play the trade game from there. And what we were seeing from Space Station side, they did walk away at the end of it with the most entry kills going in their favor. So it's going to be the exact same scenario. M80 just have to be better.
All right, really quick, and I just want one word. Are we going to 3 maps, or are SSG closing this out right now? Fox?
I think SSG is going to close it out. I think they're going to close it out. Chalet, the only deciding factor for M80 when we saw them against SR is they were fast, but a lot of those fast plays that they won was off of the back of big individual plays and kills. It doesn't look like everyone's firing in their right mind right now, so that's why I think SSG will just take it out.
All right, he missed the one word part. Lax, one word, yes or no. I'll give you the options, 50-50. Are we going to map 3?
We are not going to map 3. Space Station takes it here.
All right. SSG got it. That's what we think over here. We'll send it down to Jesse and Parker to hear their thoughts as we dive into Chalet.
There's confidence from the desk, who I would actually love to see their prediction rate over these playoffs, because they also predicted that Shopify Rebellion would win 2-0, and that did not happen. And they stuck to their guns after M80 took SR's map yesterday. But now here, obviously, you have SSG stealing a map away, going to very comfortable turf on Chalet. Do you think this changes anything for M80? And moreover, Jesse, a secondary question for you, because this is a 2-parter. What the heck happened to the M80 that we saw yesterday?
Okay, do I have to answer in one word like the desk analyst did?
No, Jesse, unlike the desk, we have a lot more time.
Oh, okay, good. Well,
we have an entire match to talk about stuff. They have about a 5-minute segment.
I mean, even if you had said yes, I would have just done like both analysts and answered in more words anyways. I think that for M80, this is starting to feel do or die. I think that this is really starting to turn on their head. We go to SSG's map pick now, as the desk alluded to. SSG have a 2-1 record on Chalet this season. Their only loss was on Wednesday versus Wildcard, and that was an 8-7 game, which got them to this best-of-3 series when they lost it in maximum overtime. Yes, M80 beat Shopify Rebellion on this map, 7-4. That's a good game, but it's a lot more history from SSG on Chalet to bounce things back. As for what has changed for M80, man, I think they might just be getting tired. Coming into today, they had played 172 rounds just in the NAL stage. That is 41% more rounds than SSG have played all stage long. M80 have played a lot of Siege. They had a long group stage where they went a lot of close games, and of course that series versus Shopify did not help. So M80 have shown a lot of their strats already. They've shown a lot of what they like to do. And I mean, there comes a point in a stage where it gets difficult to continue to iterate, right? It gets difficult to continue to run these same strats over and over again. Even if the specific strats aren't the same, right? Your playstyle is getting read into. So this is going to be a bit tough, I think, for M80 to try to make a bounce back, even though they're now here against SSG.
Well, it also might be a little bit tough for us to get into this match because it sounds like we are having some small hiccups. So we're going to toss to a break and we'll come back once everything is in working order. Everything is working and we are all in order, but unfortunately for my co-caster, his favorite part of the day, the operator bands, was skipped over. And for that, I fear heads will have no choice but to roll. Production, Jesse will be writing you a very stern letter about this later today because as you can see on your screen, 4 operators are no more and Jesse was unable to talk about them. We weep for this moment.
Well, we can at least talk about them after they've come out, because they are kind of interesting. Well,
no, not allowed. The moment has passed.
Oh.
For the remainder of this match, we cannot reference operator bans at all. Sorry, that's the rule.
But there's a 2-brow ban. In
all
phase
right,
1.
fine, talk about it.
2-brow ban's kind of weird. Usually you'll see a zombie plus a castle, maybe a clash or a Fenrir. 2-brow not super common. We saw how effective it was for M80 just the other day on this map. Holding down that office wall was a real strength of theirs. So I think SSG have had a good read to remove it from the field. M80 take out the Blackbeard and the Brava. Not the most common, but certainly not unheard of. Brava can be really good against some of these power operators like Malusi, like some of these bulletproof cameras that can be really popular on Chalet as well. So some cool strats, not the most common bans that we see, but definitely some good reasoning behind both of them.
Thank you for that. I'm very glad you're able to weigh in on that. Hopefully you finished crying. You didn't hear the silent sobs of Jesse J. Chick in the background after we went over such an incredible moment, but here we are. What do you think is the first thing that we should watch for here? Do you think the speed at which M80 is able to attack when the side swap comes out? Do you think the coordination from Spacestation on their attack will be the first thing to talk about? What do you think it is?
Well, I'm looking at 3 players on the bottom floor from M80. That's a heavy presence below the site, and it will be hot and cold below who does find the opening pick. Another one from Gavin, too. So it feels like the strategy of M80 moving throughout the bomb site, going below the site as well, has really paid off. SSG, it wasn't their attacks that were their strong point on map number 1, and it doesn't look to be their strong point here either.
And there will be J90 going down. M80 did have a very strong start to Nighthaven Labs. Those first 2 rounds were impeccable. They were at a 3-1 score line before, I think it was actually 6 rounds that were won in a row by Spacestation. For them to take map number 1, quite an impressive tally. I don't think that this map will start off any better than we saw map 1 begin for Spacestation, as it's Ashen in a 1v4 with a minute to go. Doesn't have Diffuser, miles away. That Diffuser might as well still be back on Nighthaven Labs, as he's a gridlock sitting inside the bomb site, and M80 will give him nothing at the moment. They know that Ashen can get a bit antsy. He is a terrifically gifted player when it comes to mechanics. But in order to win a 1v4, you're going to rely on your opponents making some mistakes. Gavin has been dropped, but nobody else from M80 is looking for a follow-up. Flank is coming out. What appears to be Gunner over by Bathroom. But a Nitro Cell from Hot and Cold will seal the deal. He was downstairs the entire time, and he lets out a little bit of a giggle. M80 begin map 2 just as they did with map 1, which is a round victory.
Great game sense in the 1v4. To give credit where it's due, seemed to know when Gavin was going to swing at him, had eyes on the Bathroom flank as well. If you're a ranked player, you'd call that a cheater, but here in pro games, we just call that good old-fashioned game sense. So well done by Ashen. Good attempt at the very least to try to pull that one back. The rest of the team, though, not able to get anything going on the side of SSG, really struggling to get into that map. Previously, when SSG played this map, again, they played it twice earlier this stage. They had a 33% win rate through 12 different rounds, the 2 times that they've played it. So expect a 4-2 split for M80. That would be typical for SSG. And they have consistently brought those 4-2 halves back to win it on defense. So we definitely will expect to see maybe a first half going much the way of M80, similar to Nighthaven. But that bounce back from SSG in the second half will be what we're looking out for.
Newers, unfortunately, is having some PC issues, so just a brief tech pause as he attempts to reconnect to the server as quickly as he can. For people who've been in this predicament before, they know it's not quite as simple and as quick as it can be, so probably got a minute or two where we talk here. During tech pauses, the thing that separates them from tactical timeouts is that the teams call the timeouts, the coaches are allowed to talk to the players can talk to each other, and both teams get to talk. With tech pauses, the players should not be able to communicate with each other. They certainly cannot communicate with their coaches. They have to sit there in zen-like silence, waiting for things to get back underway. I suppose this is a good time while we're filling air to talk about Chalet as a map. We've casted a fair bit of it actually in the playoffs. It's up there now with Nighthaven Labs. Chalet sitting at 94 rounds played, which prior to today was the second most played map after Cafe Dostoevsky. A fun little quirk here was that in best of ones, Cafe was far and away the preferred map. It was played way more than the map that was in second place, which at the time was Lair. I think the stat that we referenced was Cafe had been played something 33 rounds more than Lair in second place, which depending on how quickly those games go, that can be 3 whole extra matches, which really is quite a bonkers number. Chalet is now cruising up there. It's in second place just behind Cafe Dostoevsky by still about 30 rounds for what it's worth, so that lead for Cafe remains. Chalet is incredibly defender-sided. 63% of all rounds have been won by the defenders. It is the most defender-sided map based on numbers. That will bode well for M80, a team that does struggle to defend, but then it will go the complete opposite way. M80 is a terrific attacking team, but they will have to deal with a very defender-sided map. The question will be is how does SSG go about that? And numbers, of course, don't paint that full picture. We said that in map number 1, so I'm excited to see what the second half of this map gives us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Parker. Important to note as well, the one time M80 played this map this season was against Shopify Rebellion. They went 5 for 5 on their defenses, didn't drop a single defensive round. So you know they can be good on the defense half here for Chalet. They can be very good. So can SSG. Expect it to be lopsided. Expect a comeback from SSG in the second half. And expects to see some top floor bomb sites. Despite the fact that Chalet has historically been a 4-site map, we've seen almost 0 play on the basement so far.
That Senswall will go off, and Newers is pushing in, finding the Ella. He gets the lead-off pick, but M80 sweeps them off their feet. Benjamaster and Fultz will get toppled shortly thereafter. So Gunner dispatched over by Piano. Another great shot, this time from Ashen as Diffuser and him trade. That's Ashen's 3rd trade today, by the way. That is an absurd number. We're talking trade as in he gets the kill and then immediately gets traded back by the same player. He shoots a bullet, they shoot a bullet. That's wild. Man of the hour, who started off the round in very strong position, is the last one standing, and Newers will attempt to get the plant down with 1:20 to try to draw them out. He had a good idea about where M80 was coming from, but he just missed the shot. Houghton on the other side, he did not miss. M80 up 2-0, same scoreline as map 1 began.
I like the response coming out from M80. They managed to get aggressive right as that push was coming through from SSG. We didn't quite catch it, but down inside the bomb site, Hot and Cold was first floor. I think he did a little bit of a run out from the front door to be able to get that pick onto Fultz, who I believe was on the master bedroom window, which was a huge pick that kind of started things off for M80 after Newers had that opening pick. Answered back on a Benja. Ashen gets traded, as you mentioned, once more, and then everybody just falling to pieces for SSG. The desk really highlighted that trade game from Space Station. I think it was a lot better on Nighthaven Labs than what we've seen from them historically through the stage. But on the attack, it still is something that they need to work on. If they can manage to answer back those picks as soon as they go down, get one in return, that's going to be massive. And for the second time, Parker, we will get a tack timeout after just 2 rounds from SSG.
I do think Fluke is on to something here. I almost said Flink. I do think Fluke is on to something here when she mentioned that teams call their tactical timeout at the tail end of the second round because of the impact that that operator ban will have at the end of the third round. I know it's just one operator ban, but you are going to have an operator ban against you, and you're going to be taking away one of their operators as well. And that can have a huge impact on the remaining 3 rounds, so much so that it can completely blunt the momentum. If you see that a team is running you over with shields, for example, if M80 thought that SSG was bringing too many shields, something that would be absurd to say about a team like Spacestation, then they could easily use that third ban on a Monty or a Blitz. Haven't really seen that, so I don't think that'll be the case. But with teams like when they swap sides and SSG bans out both the Monty and the Blitz, that third ban could be a Blackbeard, it could be a Fuse, or it could be another high-value utility op. It could be a Maverick, it could be an Ace if they think those operators are having big impact on the rounds and could have extra big impact on the remaining 3 rounds before the side swap comes in. Not to mention the fact that SSG are just starting off poorly. I mean, M80 are playing as defenders on the most defender-sided map. There is an expectation there that they will win more rounds. I think that's a very safe expectation, even if M80 does have struggles to defend on certain maps. The map will do most of that work. A 3-3 scoreline is, in my eyes, worst-case scenario for M80 starting in this first half. If M80 does not get a 4-2 scoreline, I think they're in trouble. But if you're SSG, you still need to fix things because you need those 2 rounds at minimum, and you need to start now.
I agree 100%. This could be the good opportunity to make it happen. Of course, bomb site going down to bar and games, as we do tend to avoid that basement on Chalet. Looks like it's going to be a solar overtake coming out from SSG. They had a lot of pressure early on the games window, the library window. They started to make some ghost pressure on that side of the map, but now they're moving over here instead. There aren't really roamers that they'll have to contend with. I say that, Gunner is sprinting through solar, so he'll have to be contended with as they are starting to enter in through West Main now to try to walk up those trophy stairs, get up into solar. Gunner already making his way into master bedroom, so not too far away. He could be the first point of contact for M80, as he usually is on the defensive side.
Gunner taking the first bit of damage. He's also being tracked by Ashen's death mark. Ashen is a great player, and if you put that strong secondary in his hands, he can do some serious damage. Benjamaster walks up a little bit too oblivious to the defenders playing not far away from him, just a door frame or a room away, and now it's Fultz to test his reflexes against a Legion who wants to peek this door frame. Diffuser first kill will be on Ashen. So that death mark cuts both ways. I don't know if they were playing a game of cat and mouse, but in this case, the cat is certainly on the side of M80. Fultz takes out Gunner finally, and now Benja gets on the board, taking down Hot and Cold. M80 have lost 2, and a third is not that far removed, playing inside of Office. Hitting the deck as Benja continues to chew through those soft walls. Diffuser eliminating J90. That'll be a second kill for M80 as numbers equalize. 45 seconds remain in the round, and Fultz has found himself in a bit of an odd spot amidst all of those Sens walls. He's searching for somebody over in Office, but he's boxing shadows. They have vacated that space, and with it, we can see more confidence from SSG as they push up.
Really aggressive roam game, was almost a disaster for M80, but Diffuser stood up and was able to be a hero. Now Gavin, as they fall him back to site, will start things off in the 3v3.
M80 just continuing to get these kills and maintain that advantage. Gavin and Diffuser are both very low on HP, so SSG are in a not as bad of a spot as the numbers would suggest, but they are running out of time. Final 10 seconds for SSG to get into the bomb site. Newers has accomplished that. Benja has Diffuser, and he's far away, and here's Gavin on the flank. Benja catches him, and now it's all up to Newers to seal the deal. The Kino will stop him with a Nitro Cell, and the case will not go down, giving M80 a third round.
Huge 1v2 from Kino. That is massive for M80 to be able to win that one out with such little time on the clock. SSG, no hope of being able to get that plant down. It was a weird hold from M80. For the first 2 full minutes, they were fighting and contending for Master on a bar games defense. Sometimes you'll see 1 or 2 roamers hold over towards Master and Solar for the first, 60 seconds, right? You slow down that clear over a little bit. But M80 didn't really have a lot of utilities posted up towards mezzanine, posted up towards the top of blue stairs, instead of making your real bulk of the defense over on top of the bomb site like most teams would. They brought so many players. All 4 of the former Beast Coast core were playing over in Master, trusting Kino just to hold down the site by himself, which he had no issues with, didn't really receive any pressure as that lone anchor player. So with 4 roamers, it felt like they were really committed to fighting by Master. Again, it almost fell to pieces with Gunner and Hot and Cold going down. But Diffuser got that first pick onto Ashen, got a second pick whilst falling off back towards that Mez side of things, and then another pick from Gavin before that 3v3 push could really come out. So a bit risky from M80, a bit new, maybe a bit aggressive, but it pays off for them, and they will go up 3-0 in this game.
A worse start than map number 1. I mean, the desk was so swift to say it's over. Space-Station are going to win this one. I mean, obviously, it's possible. SSG did win those 6 rounds in a row on the previous map to get the victory. Anything's possible when you can be that dominant on one side. But I mean, what we've seen out of Chalet, which is, and I will quote our good friend Lynx here, inherently attacker favored, but some teams are just not the most proficient at attacking on this map. Well, we're seeing that. We're witnessing that. Just as M80 had some struggles on attacking Nighthaven Labs, largely because of the obstacles Spacestation kept putting in their way, M80 was unable to get over those in time to pull off successful executes. Spacestation is now dealing with the same thing. They are finding some serious trouble with information. This round, though, 30 seconds into action, you've still got 80 or 10 drones remaining on the side of Spacestation. They should not be struggling through intel, especially when you look at the lineup of M80 is absent a Mute and absent a Mozzie. There's nothing to stop these drones from gaining maximum value.
Like statues on the M80 defense. A small movement from Gavin, but he does still end up losing his teammate of Hot and Cold. Doesn't move too far, though, just behind the mirror window, which will get popped, and if Nade forces a little bit more movement, he is still somehow holding down this Mez position. He's playing to die, of course. He does not expect to live through the round, but he's killing so much time off of this clock with already a man disadvantage. He would love to take one player with him. They know his exact position, though. You got to imagine he's not going to last much longer. Time keeps going down, though.
I can't believe Gavin got out of that unharmed. That is absurd. SSG will use an Adrenal Surge. They've got 1 remaining. Newer's reunited with a longtime operator that we touched upon on the previous map, which is Finka with the LMG in hand. A bullet hose. 75 of those bullets can easily destroy those defenders. You only need 5 bullets, 1 for each player's head. It's also a good suppressing force. If you're going for a plant, you can lay down that LMG and dare one of the defenders to try to cross it without taking an awful lot of damage. Gavin has a read on the upstairs player. J9O eliminating Gunner, and the growth for SSG will now be 2. Diffuser taking down Newers with a Nitro Cell. Ashen trading out Kino, and now the final players from M80 are in similar positions over towards blue stairs. Gavin will die. Diffuser inside of his corpse looking for warmth, maybe? Ashen takes him down as the Diffuser in the hands of Fultz was almost completed. SSG on the board. They'll look to draw even in this first half. They've only got 1 round to their name, but still, they've got time.
I really liked the way that Gavin was playing. We were on his POV for the majority of that round, and I think he did a great job of wasting time. But eventually SSG said, you know what? Gavin's too annoying to find. We've already let him slip away from library. Let's just go kill everybody else. It was actually a jump out from Gunner. He jumped out the bathroom window before getting knifed by J9O. So clearly trying to make a play. Thought J9O might have been on cams or maybe a bit farther away, but we didn't quite catch it. He was apparently right there in his face to get the knife kill on the jump out, something you don't see every day on Chalet. And then, yeah, just good target focus from SSG, be able to pick off those players around the bomb site, ignoring Gavin after he made his great escape towards the blue stairs. Nice stuff going on from Spacestation. When you're going up against a team like M80, who have shown that they want to play quite an aggressive Chalet, who are willing to go for these jump outs, willing to go for spawn peaks, we've seen all weekend long, sometimes playing passive and just holding your angles, biding your time is the right decision.
It's the one thing that I really liked of M80 through those first 2 rounds was they gave SSG very little. M80 is playing a little bit more forefront, just as we saw from Spacestation on those defenses back on Nighthaven Labs in map number 1. I mean, there was a period of time where you'd have roamers play either unsupported or as a dynamic duo. I mean, for our particular broadcast, Laxing and Skies were the dynamic roaming duo for quite a long period of time in NA, if not outright one of the best. They were certainly up there. But the way that you now play defense has changed, and the team that changed it was that old W7M core. Now they play under Furia, but they took defending as almost offense and popularized it. This time around, M80 will have to be a little bit more active as they've lost hot and cold in the first 40 seconds of the round. Newer's fishing for another kill. He's under watch. This is a real gutsy play. Some would say a little bit stupid, but he's getting watched by a default cam, and he's basically just going to test his reflexes. The fact that M80 is not swinging him shows that they have the utmost respect for his ability to punish them despite all that intel for the defenders.
M80 have shown up with a really deep strat book on Chalet. They just played this map again against Shopify Rebellion, and they're playing completely brand new defenses, even different from the first quarter from what we saw, providing a lot of puzzles that SSG will have to solve. They'll start by opening up this office wall, which is a good start to things. Fault's starting to make a movement on this shield player as well, but that doesn't result in any kills. There's J90 finding the second for SSG, and now we start getting a little antsy from M80. Will those aggressive swings come out to try to equalize?
I don't want to speak too soon, but when things fall apart for M80 in this series, they have really fallen apart. They have not been able to stick with it. We saw it on map number 1. We're witnessing it now here as SSG are a single kill away from winning this one flawlessly. They've got the castle on the run. He manages to tussle quite effectively, but while the shield doesn't get dropped, there's no other kills to be had. To that point, though, as SSG win the round, Jesse, is that when M80 lose that first pick, they really struggle. They're almost always certainly losing the round. They had challenges on labs. Those same challenges have now presented themselves through the last 2 rounds here of Chalet, as SSG are now starting to figure out their game, and they're doing it at the right time. They can salvage this first half, grab 3 rounds. M80's already got 3. It's going to be a wash, but again, the defenders are favored here just based on numbers. SSG will then take that side. From here on out, you will have a great map for the defenders going up against a team like M80 who are great on attack, and it will be fireworks. I said it at the very start of the series. I think the second half is going to be intense compared to what we see out of the first half.
Yeah, Parker, I hate to give you credit for anything, but I think you made a really great point in what you were just saying there. When M80 lose the opening pick, especially on their defensive halves, they really fall apart. This has been consistent not just here on Chalet and earlier in the series on Nighthaven, but throughout the season. M80 have the single worst defensive recovery in the North America League. They've won just 19% of defensive rounds when they don't get that opening pick. That is abysmally bad. You might not see it if you're just looking at the overall stats, because their offensive recovery is actually the highest in the league at 41%. So on attack, they have no problems with that. That's a big reason why they're a better attacking team than defending team. When they lose the opening gunfight, they're able to recover. But on defense, this has been their Achilles heel ever since the stage started a few weeks ago. M80 need to find a way to trade back those kills so that it's not a 5v4, it goes to a 4v4, or to just ensure that they win those opening gunfights, because every time they lose that first fight on D, they end up falling apart.
If anybody's wondering what that clattering was, that was the notebook that I'm taking notes in falling off of my desk. I apologize, I wasn't able to hit my mute button loud enough. All is well, by the way. I'm not in any serious peril here. First pick is going to be Diffuser, as Blitz in the hands of Fultz will gun down Gaveni. And SSG sure do seem like they're poised to tie this up. 2 very swift kills again. Something you just talked about. How well do M80 recover after surrendering these first picks? This round is going to really tell the story. So far, the answer is not well. You've still got utility to spare. All of these gadgets are passive gadgets at this point, though you do need to activate those dread mines in the hands of Hot and Cold, and you do need to pop the canisters in the Goyo that's brought by Gunner, but oh my goodness, Newers finding himself in harm's way over by blue stairs, and now Fultz will pinch him. Newers needs to win this duel. How? Oh, Gunner comes to the rescue. I was a little surprised by that altercation. Now Kino is on the board, and it seems like M80 might have been able to get themselves out of a sticky spot. Well,
you have to speak, don't you, Parker?
I did have to speak. Unfortunately, it's part of the job, much to the haters. Shout out to the haters. They were wrong there. Hot and Cold on a single point of HP as now Kino bites the dust at the hands of Benja, who's having a pretty good game. He's leading the team with 6. Ashen will collect kill number 4 as what remains of Hot and Cold is sent away in a pretty little box. 3-3, the first half, and the parallels to map 1 continue. M80 started off this first half real strong. They actually outdid themselves compared to Nighthaven Labs, picking up one more round. But then SSG started to streak, and they are presently streaking. They put together 6 rounds in a row to win map number 1. Now SSG's at 3 in a row and are situated quite nicely as the side swap comes in.
At some point, things have got to start getting a little frustrating, hey? Ashton, I think, very much aware of the mental state going in for M80. He knows that they have taken full control of the momentum in this matchup. I can almost guarantee you everybody on M80 has muted Ashen since the very second they spawned into the server. But even still, I mean, it's Ashen's game plan, right? He wants to get in your head. After choking out that 4-2 lead that you had on Nighthaven, you lost every single round in the second half. Now you had a 3-0 lead. You've lost every single round in the second quarter. M80 have to be getting annoyed with how this game continues to spiral out of control. Just when things look up, they start to fall back down. And it does come down to those opening picks. It does come down to their inability to trade.
Shit, guys.
SSG are playing a great game here on Chalet. They were really good at reading what M80 were doing on a lot of those defenses. They were holding their angles. They were waiting for M80 to get aggressive. And once they had the lead, they refused to give it up. Now SSG will go to their defensive side. Through 14 rounds this stage, they have a 71% win rate on Chalet, specifically on that middle floor, 100% through 4 rounds on bar and games, 80% through 5 rounds on kitchen and dining. It's not getting easier for M80.
Obviously, you don't want to write off a team way too early on, and I mean, I did stick up for M80 yesterday against the haters on the subreddit. Today, unfortunately, I think the haters might have been on to something. They were just a day early. Damn 80 haters, by the way. Though I do find that because Ashen is such a polarizing figure, he does drive lots of attention his way. I think you're correct. I mean, I would have muted Ashen the moment I move into a server. Admittedly, what Ashen says in the heat of the moment wouldn't bother me because I'm a 34-year-old man, or a 35-year-old man now, actually. Oh my goodness. Almost forgot my own birthday.
Happy
I'm a
belated.
35-year-old man, and the things that get said in the server don't bother me because it's just trash talk and I move on with my life. But I know that for some players, the emotions are a bit more volatile.
Yeah.
Ashen obviously can take all of that hate, which is good. And then again, goes back to something that is said on the broadcast quite frequently. We need good villains to have the heroes and the good stories that come with it. Ashen is quite content making people mad. It's part of his brand, and frankly, it's very welcomed as long as he's doing it in a non-toxic way, which for the most part seems to be the case with the things that he says. How harmful is a little question mark in chat? Let's be honest.
I feel like Hot and Cold is usually one of those guys you can expect to be very mentally resilient. He's been in the game for a long time, but he showed some emotion yesterday after the loss, slamming his desk after the 8-7, 8-7 throw. Good pick, take down Benja. That starts things off nicely for M80. It was strong passive play from SSG that got them their 3 attacking rounds, and M80 are doing much the same, holding their windows and just letting Hot and Cold be the tip of the spear, make that space.
Down goes Kino as now it's time for Fultz to get a bit more active. He's watching his teammates fall by the wayside, and he'll have to confront the Monty tucked into the corner of Solarium, but Fultz is in an uncomfortable position as he vaults on down, missing out on the Deimos. Great poise by Diffuser. Wanted more than that, but he'll have to settle for 1. Down goes Fultz at the hands of Gavin as they have effectively pinched him, but Ashen is just on a tear. Every single player on the side of M80 he sees, he punishes. There is no answer here at the moment. Hot and Cold getting the Diffuser down as Gavin will now watch for a potential flank up those Solarium stairs. Houghton is successful. Gavin's in a great spot, but there's no silhouettes nearby. Ashen is looking for something, and he runs right into the shield. Viewers will now be the one called into action, and the Monty will likely be the first that he sees as Gavin is down below creating kill lines. Lines of sight for those kill holes. Viewers will need to shield break Houghton as he tries to isolate him with those goo mines. Look at that. What do you do? Houghton dancing around all of them, playing some footloose with Newers as Newers is just running out of time. I mean, his singular focus is taking down Hot and Cold. His focus should be on the timer, but I think he knows he's not going to be able to get there without the kill. Past the point of no return, the round will go to M80 after a successful plant, and 3 players in the server will survive in that post plant. M80 breaks the streak, something they couldn't do on map 1, and they've regained the lead.
Man, in that 2v2 with both Ashen and Newers down below the site, it sure would have been nice if they had some information so that they could stop the plant from hot and cold. It's a soft floor, and Ashen had a shotgun. Newers as well on the Legion, able to deny from down below. If only they had some information. Unfortunately, both Ashen and Newers had their bulletproof cameras in their pockets, not up in sight giving callouts like the other two BPs were up inside of Piano. Both were in their pockets, not being used. You saw Newers spamming all those goo mines at the end as well, also not being put out until the round was already lost here against Hot and Cold. Just little mistakes in the utility department. It was a great 3K from Ashen. I loved his gunplay, loved his positioning, but you gotta put that util down. That's game-making decisions that are ruining things right now for SSG. Sloppy mistakes in that first defense.
5 seconds left.
Said we'd see a thrilling second half. I mean, that's a great round. There were lots of good moments. Ashen in particular was a superstar defending, but the rest of his team were crumbled like a wet paper bag. It's good to see that SSG are going to do the exact same thing that they did in their very first match against Wildcard back in the upper bracket quarterfinals a couple days ago. Wildcard did end up winning that series, but Spacestation were quite eager to go for spawn peaks in that map too, which was on Chalet. Ultimately lost it to Wildcard 8-7, which was enough to give Wildcard that 2-0 victory. Wildcard, spoilers, are gone from the playoff hunt. They got eliminated by Oxygen in the lower bracket quarterfinal that occurred just before this match began. That means that OXG is waiting for the winner of this game. The winner of this game will finish in the top 4 for the region. We know that Shopify Rebellion, Dark Zero, and OXG are the top 3, but we don't know what order they will end up finishing in. We're just looking for a 4th finalist, and one of these two teams will get it. Right now, it's SSG's to lose because of the map count, but they're going to have to do better now on this defending side than they did in the previous round.
Only player in the building right now is Kino, who's lurked into the basement, and as I say that, he leaves. It's gonna be a solar focus take. Befalts is close, and while he does get naded out, he's killed off the Blackbeard, and that's gonna be more than value for his position on the blue stairs. Now that he's got that big pick from solar stairs, I should say, he's been able to really halt this push from M80. How do they get into the building now without a shield on the back of Hot and Cold? How can they start to make these entry points? It's going to be a lot more difficult. The window play will be what determines if SSG can hold on to their man count or not, as it often does on Chalet. Gunner is hunting for a pick. Ashen trying to answer back too, but no movement is good news for Spacestation.
Just be patient if you're sitting there to defend. That's all you need to do. M80 did an exemplary job of it in that first half, giving nothing to that Spacestation team when they tried to dig their claws in and mount a comeback. Again, if you're going to pull off a 1v3, a 1v4, even a 1v2, most of the time, if you're in that one, you are relying on the majority numbers to make a mistake. I don't know where Benjamaster's been downed from, but SSG will now be behind in numbers as Kino asserts himself in Piano, and down goes what remains of Benja, crawling out looking for some comfort. Kino will find a second as he pivots onto Newers. Diffuser is dropped, but still an advantage at the moment for M80. Desperately looking to grow their lead with just 20 seconds left. A Lion charge will go off. One remains in back pocket. J90 slaughtering Kino from the hatch just after Diffuser had been picked back up. J90 must have an idea over towards that Solarium. J90 and Ashen working together so perfectly, and Jack will get the final kill to equalize. No lead growing on the side of M80. Spacestation tie things up yet again.
I mean, how many times do we have to say it? Big round coming out, the 2v4 double DMRs. SSG, they're aware of the assignment. They sit in some rat spots, they take some weird angles, and they just say, we know they don't have time to drone us. It was also really good work from the roamer players as well, I should say. They lost a lot of man count up there, right? Top floor was a bit of a bloodbath for SSG, but it was a bloodbath very late into the round. Yeah, Benja maybe dies to bathroom window, gets downed really early on, but he gets downed after wasting tons of time, after standing still for so long. Felt like Gunner was in the same situation where, yeah, maybe he dies trophy stairs coming on down right in the midst of that push. It comes so late.
Fucking shit.
Every time Janino makes a good play, he just says nice to his boys. He never takes credit for himself. You notice that?
I mean, good leaders say we, not you.
That's fair.
Leaders say us, not you. So, I mean, if you're saying great job to everybody else, even if you're the one who's doing most of the work, I mean, it goes to show you that you've got a good perspective. That's the type of person that you want to follow into the dark. Not the person who says, well, why didn't you do that? The person who says, well, why didn't we do this? It is a subtle difference, but it is a big one and something that I think more people, including myself, could learn from. J90 is now tied Ashen for most kills. That previous map, we saw J90 stand atop Space Station, which again, on his role is not something that he really should be doing. When you've got a team like Ashen, Benja, and Newers on it, it's not J90 who should be the one getting the most kills. Bolts will go for a run out, and he just missed what looked like Diffuser on Repel. An opportunity that will slip by and might come back to haunt SSG depending on what happens over the next 2.5 minutes.
I said we wouldn't see the basement. That was a lie. SSG deciding to go down to the least popular bomb site on Chalet. They've got a heavy roam setup with Ashen on the top floor. You saw it, Benja and Newers playing around the mid floor here as well, over towards Games. Benja's fallen off. He's gone back down the snow stairs. He's left Newers kind of by himself. Ashen is solar, so across the map, they are very isolated right now as these SSG roamers are just trying to survive.
Oh! Not
clean.
much to say there other than just a sound, maybe that noise of the wind leaving your nose a little bit faster than usual, but my God, Gunner is put in a box. What a shot by Newers.
Now, I mean, Ashen still remains up on this top floor. Less pressure on him to try to get something done. He's holding on to kind of west main, that kitchen area of the map, trying to protect that dining hatch, I think, so that if they do go for a back push, they can't hold that control. He can go for a denial. Don't think that's where M80 are headed. Just based on all this soft breach, they want to get in through the snow breach. They want to maybe walk down the stairs with that diffuse kit. Can't imagine that they've left the breach soft so far, so hopefully Gunner was able to open that.
Now there's a fade away from Space Station as they buy some time over by the trophy and solarium portions of the top floor and middle floor, leaving most of M80 assembled inside of the lobby. You still need to get down to the bottom floor bomb site. Track stingers will stop any potential flank, but for now, I don't know if we're going to see it just solely based on the positioning. My God, how does M80 come out ahead of that? What a sloppy gunfight for all involved. Newers inside of blue as last man standing as Ash has been taken down. Diffuser on the case at the moment. He'll have the objective in hand with 30 seconds to go. Newers manages to get away and he ego peeks Gavin, who swiftly shows him why sometimes you need to eat a little bit of humble pie. Newers could have easily rotated around, but he decided to go for the fight. I imagine based on limited intel. Newers has been feeling his shots today, so not always a bad idea. But it does give M80 the round, and they regain the lead. Space Station has either tied or trailed this entire map. This is their map. That is not a good spot to be in.
That's a crazy attack to win, by the way, if you're M80. They did not have the main breach open. It was closed and electrified from Benjamaster. So they were funneling everybody down the snowmobile stairs, just trying to get in from Fireplace. And Fault was in the power position to stop that. He had the nitro, he had the gun skill, he had everything there. But he only got one before being traded out. A chaotic end to the round as M80 took control of that bomb site. We see this positioning from Gavin with a couple of players coming down through this storage hatch. That really made the difference, right? You're into connector. Now all of a sudden you've got that second dimension. It becomes a much more doable push for you. Quick thinking from M80. Didn't get everything they wanted in the early game. Lost man count. Didn't get the breach, but still walked away with the win.
We are seeing a thrilling conclusion to this map unfold in front of our eyes. In the top right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see the maps that we have played on. Skyscraper awaits us as the decider, should, of course, it be needed. No guarantee that we will get there because a comeback from SSG is entirely possible. Skyscraper is the least played map in the map pool right now. Only 28 rounds have been played on Skyscraper from the start of the groups to this point. It's effectively a 50-50 map, but with such a small sample size, there's really no way for us to talk about it. Skyscraper does tend to skew towards the defenders like most maps, just based on other regional data and obviously data from previous NA leagues, but again, hard to say. 28 rounds, that's it. That is insane. We've seen more than 28 rounds of Nighthaven Labs in the last 24 hours. So crazy stuff.
to get there. It still will require M80 to win at least 2 more rounds, potentially 3 if SSG can force an overtime. This attack, once again, going to clear all the way through Master. Bomb site will be barring games. Ashen's a bit aggressive inside of Piano. More or less alone. Newer's over by Mez. Ashen kind of backs off now. So unlike what M80 did on this bomb site, they're not hard committing to holding Master. They're playing a much more traditional defense on Chalet where you really focus around Mez, you focus around blue stairs. Ashen constantly repositioning as he gets droned. This Deimos might make that a little bit difficult. He's playing the Malusi, so they'll surely have a free ping onto him. Once they get that information, the death mark could come out from Gavin, which could feed that information and allow an easy pick onto Ashen. Until then, it's going to be a simple setup from M80. They've got full piano control, full office control, diffuser over on the Mez window too, so plenty of setup. They just need to execute.
Smoke will go out, followed immediately by a Sens wall to give them a bit more concealment. Good value from that Rotero drone to grab 2 ADSs and a deployable shield over by Chimney towards the reading door, or towards library door. This is a shrewd move by Newers, but he misses most of his shots. He's not credited with a single kill. SSG comes out ahead, and it leaves Gavin as last man standing right now inside a library, and he's going to have to hit the books because he goes down in a hail of gunfire with the Dane. Benjamaster getting the final pick. Spacestation answers back, and again, we are seeing both of these teams scrape their way to what might be an overtime conclusion. I don't know if either of these teams will have what it takes to win in regulation. OT does give us at 3 rounds for this to get decided. I'm looking forward to it. I want it. I feel it. I want it. Doesn't matter if there's a map 3. Doesn't matter if we have to cast. We are way ahead of schedule, by the way. I just want these teams to continue beating the stuffing out of each other.
Well, if it's anything like that previous round, it'll certainly be exciting. I mean, crazy finish there as M80 ball all 5 players in through the library hall. They get into library, and it really comes down to the trades, right? Once again, this is something the desk have hammered on over and over again. SSG have historically struggled to get those kills back once they lose one. When you're playing against a big death ball like that, and you're playing somewhat solo positions, I mean, only Benja and Newers were up on the top floor. You still had Ashen and J9 lurking around the main floor, and then Fultz was all the way in the basement when that push came in. It's really important that if you lose one pick, you can immediately answer it back. SSG were doing really well with those trades on that 10th round. They will equalize the score now at 5-5. I got to agree, Parker. It does feel like an overtime is coming our way because these rounds, even if they're somewhat dominant on the man count, feel very back and forth.
Just enjoying the telltale signs of the DMRs, which have taken a pretty steady place in the meta. Great for caliber-based destruction. They hit like a truck. And also, it's just more that the alternatives have been nerfed. The F2 used to be, pound for pound, one of the best guns in the game. But now its recoil is kind of crazy, and it's just not in vogue. Instead, you bring that 417. You can tear through floors, walls. You can tear through Kiba barriers. You can tear through the hatches with a lot greater ease. M80 is on a collision course at the moment, DMR or not, as Hot and Cold with no weapons in his hand, just the shield extended all the way. Will creep up on J90, feeding Gavin a free kill. Benja will answer back from the same position. He knows somebody was out on Repel, will waste his Nitro cell as that Repel mechanic that was changed over in Siege X will pay off so well for M80, but Benja is unstoppable in this position. SSG looking for their first lead of this map, and if they pull it off, they'll be on series point. Hot and Cold fighting for his life, and Newers' ascent up blue stairs will net Spacestation the final and necessary kill to win them the round. Series point for SSG.
These last 2 rounds, Parker, have been blink and you'll miss it. M80, this game was leaning their way, 5-4, now it's 5-6, just like that. Ridiculous play from the import for SSG. The 6th Invitational 2023 MVP coming up and showing just why he was imported to the squad to begin with. Spacestation have consistently been using their attack timeout very early in these games. It seemingly has paid off for them. M80 will now play it at potentially the last possible moment. Backs are against the wall. They must win this next round or they will be eliminated from the North America League. They will be forced to play in that 5th, 6th place decider match, which is mostly just for 50 SI points. Not the biggest deal, still something for sure. They don't want to be in that situation. They want to guarantee that 50 SI points. Now lock down top 4 and make sure you're in a good position for the rest of the season. They came so damn close yesterday, Parker. 8-7, 8-7 loss to Shopify Rebellion after winning the first map. To go out like this to SSG after 2 more brutally close games, they know it's all on them. If they can just lock things in, get the comms figured out, they should be capable of winning these rounds, but it's not coming together.
I don't know if they were just simply broken from yesterday's matchups or not, but I had higher expectations for M80. What I will say is that all of these teams are evenly balanced when it comes to their results in the NA League. They've got an incredible amount of experience across both teams. I mean, if M80 loses here to Spacestation, in my eyes, I don't think that's a terrible thing. I mean, there's gonna be losers. There will be teams that don't make the top 4. 6 of them, actually, based on my numbers. So you can be in some good company with some great teams that are down there. You look at a team like Wildcard that was bounced out earlier today. They are a good team that is rapidly improving. You look at a team like either M80 or Spacestation, these teams are quite steady. They've got major and world champions on these squads. They are no slouch. They can do well internationally, depending, of course, on the meta and the other teams that are present. You're not worse by not making the top 4. But yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a fall from grace from M80 just based on their own expectations. The one thing I will say, and not that I take any enjoyment in a team losing, is we'll get to see Fabian's tweet should M80 bottle things here. He has been unhinged, and I have been living for the things that he's been saying on social media.
Ashen, really good early round play. Messing with the team, not just in the text chat, but also on that spawn peak. Just faking it. Use the impact, too. Put some fear into the heart of SSG, or of M80, I should say.
Grenades going off, and Newers is surviving on what might be borrowed time, but that's M80 just dumping a ton of utility his way, still dancing around it, and now droned out twice. Look at all that's being wasted on Newers, and he dies to a peek to Gavin yet again. A similar situation. Gavin has Newers on a t-shirt. I don't know what Newers could have done more there in that situation. Now it will fall on the rest of his teammates to hold the round intact. If they can't do that, overtime awaits us, which will be a sigh of relief on the side of M80.
Faltz is over on Fireplace stairs right now. He could make a big flank. He's down in the basement, hoping he'll do some sort of a lurk right up towards Fireplace. He's got to choose his moment correctly. I mean, if this gets caught, if he gets droned, if they have any idea that this play might be happening, it's easy to snuff him out of that basement. You walk down blue, you deal with that threat. That's going to be huge. But just based on how he's playing, based on what M80 are droning at the moment, it doesn't look like they have any clue where he's at. They have pinged Malusi, so they could go for a deathmark track, but they don't even have a clue that he could be down there. And Kino is just breaching the wall. Nobody's watching for this flank up the stairs.
This could have come back to haunt them. Will it occur? Nope, they just had it on drone. Okay. Kino is now turned around. It is spotted, but for a second, Fultz has been figured out. A pick here will give M80 a 2-player advantage. That might just be enough to tip the scales as they overpower the remaining defenders. Kino will take matters into his own hands, sneaking on down. He manages to dispatch Fultz, but not before Diffuser dies, so still a small loss for M80. Despite that, they still hold the advantage. Hot and Cold will be immobilized with that Diffuser in hand, but only 2 players from Space Station remain. Kino's having a terrific game. They didn't expect J90 to hit another flank, but Gavin is there as the insurance policy, and my God, what a nail-biter that round was. M80 saving themselves from an early exit here in the lower bracket. We will have at least 2 more rounds in OT to decide whether SSG moves on or whether it's M80 propelling us to a 3rd map.
Not one thing will be given for free. M80 has to work for every inch of space, every push. They expected the first flank. They didn't expect the second, but it's fine. They had coverage in the end. The man count was strong enough as they went to stop that flank. Scary stuff. The double support duo, by the way, going for the flank on SSG. When you think of the players getting aggressive, it's not often going to be J90 and Faltz for Space Station, but this time it was, and they almost won the game for SSG. lower the heart rate a little bit after that one. Lock back in, because overtime is a brand new best of 3 rounds. You're going to have 2 chances to attack on this site. It was SSG's choice whether they wanted attack or defense first, as this is their map pick. They chose defense, so we'll get to see what they can do. Once again, it has historically been the defense that's been stronger on Chalet between these two teams, but in this game, it feels dead even.
I don't know which one of these teams you take right now in OT. It is that evenly matched. So we've been seeing some great games here in the playoffs. You know, we've been seeing some really terrific series getting played out by these teams. Win or lose, there is no doubt that all of these teams deserved to make it here. Even if it was a bit of an unfortunate exit for Wildcard, they still are a top team, and they proved it. They just are a younger team that needs to sort things out. They've got 2 imports, both from different regions, for the record. Baby Shark obviously coming from EU, and then you've got from Brazil Dash. Teams are not given a lot of time to really work through this. You know, if you didn't play in Reload, you've got 9 group stage days. That's it. You've got 9 matches to go through this. You can scrim as much as you want. You can dry run as much as you want. But at the end of the day, scrims and dry runs are not a proper substitute for actual matches. SSG will defend at least once here in overtime. They could defend a second time if it goes to a 3rd OT round. First minute has gone by, and M80 are in the building and are still in the discovery phase, as they've got quite a lot of drones left on the board.
Yeah, I mean, lots of space taken from Gunner. They don't seem to know he's here. If they know about that basement entrance as well coming out from Gavin, then that'll be something they can try to capitalize on. You saw the vert angle being held by Newers. Default cam still up from Faults too, so they have lots of opportunity to catch these roamers, or sorry, these players that are lurking around for M80. I mean, it does feel like this is going to be a really slow push from M80. They don't have a whole lot of pressure. Gunner solo inside of Piano is quite nice, but unless he gets a freebie and the Malusi gives away his position, they don't have a whole lot of room to work with.
Out goes Ash charges, explosions all across the board. A nitro cell in pocket for J90 is the only real round-saving explosive that's present. Newers knows there's a player down there, and he manages to tussle with Gavin after he saw the Selma go off. SSG starting with 2 kills. Newers could have ego peaked yet again, but hopefully he's told not to do that. He's not been very successful through the last couple rounds. Diffuser now dies, and it looks like the same old M80 that we saw in this first half, where when they lose one, they struggle to come back. Hot and cold, last man standing, just barging into the window through the A-bomb site. A nitro cell from J90, and then the gun in hand will give match point to Space Station again.
Disciplined defense coming out from the Astronauts. Really well played. They didn't overextend. They trusted in their utility to be able to get that information for them. You had Gunner lurking through Piano, but a Banshee was there to tell you his position. You had some information down in the basement with the default cam being shot, so Newers was watching it the entire time, was very, very focused on making sure the ace could not open up the wall to bar storage. Really good stuff. They weren't overswing. They weren't playing over aggressive. They just let M80 choke things out. You're going up against a team who have known to be chokers. I've got to say it. With how they've played so far in this playoffs, they have really let the mental get to them. They're a great team, but when the pressure gets high, they clam up a little bit. You're playing on defense, let them clam up. Let them waste their own time. That was the thought process from SSG. It pays off. They are back to series points.
They weren't able to get the job done the first time. How will it work this time as SSG moves on to attack? We have not really seen the sides here play out as importantly as the way that the teams approach that. An upstairs defense now from M80, as SSG have not tinkered with their lineup just yet. They have time to blow it up. They were absent a traditional hard breacher. They'll make a small change. Ashen will go on Hibana, and there we'll see a Twitch subbed in for J90's Kali. I did kind of want to see the Kali, to be honest, but maybe not on a round-defining moment that SSG will face. Maybe another time. Round underway. M80 potentially 2 minutes and 45 seconds away from watching their group stage and their time in stage 1 all be for naught, as they could be going home here.
So M80 played this bomb site twice in round 1 and in round 4. I should say round 5 as well. They have 2 different defensive setups. This is the one they ran in round 4. They didn't find much success. They did lose that one. So SSG will have a read on what this push looks like, what this hold is going to be set up for, and that's why they've got good positioning with their shield, but loses it anyways. Traded out by Benja at least, so the roam clear isn't a complete disaster, but with the tip of your spear falling in faults, that makes this push a lot more awkward to clear through the rest of these roamers. Still 3 players on that top floor, and then Gunner in the basement going for another cheeky play.
Flash out as Diffuser just stays away from that one. He doesn't get flashed because he's dead before it can go off. Benjamaster surpassing J9O's total with 14 kills, but he's just on a whisper of HP. And these teams will be in a full-on shouting fight in just a matter of seconds. Approaching the halfway point of this round, and we've lost 3, 2 on the side of M80, 1 for SSG. SSG desperate for another kill. Gunner heading over towards that dining room. He's got targets, he's got silhouettes. He does not have an idea, though, as to where this player is. Ashen finds the Jaeger of Gavin, but Gavin's been on an absolute tear, and Ashen will pull out his sidearm, hoping for more. J9O punished by M80 as they fight for dear life. Down goes Kino. Gavin taking some damage too. Ashen is in the ground. Benja still on a single point of HP, but Gavin is done. Gunner with 3 kills to his name will need to find 2 more, or that'll be kaput for M80. He starts with Benja, but now the job becomes getting over to Newers, who with case in hand will prolong this round by about 45 seconds. Over by the door, posted up. Gunner repositioning. Does Newers know this? He swings, and he's been dropped. Gunner will win the duel and head to the case to send us to a 15th round by a hair. Gunner saves it for M80.
Leave it to the Manchester Major MVP to lock down the 1v2. It wasn't a clean defense, but it got the job done. You saw a lot of players in M80 were playing very solo. Diffuser swinging on those blue stairs, ended up going down by himself. Even Gunner completely alone inside of Kitchen. Now Gunner's an insane player, so he clutches it out anyways. But really, the inability to trade brought that really close from M80. SSG had a lot of opportunities to trade out deaths. They just couldn't quite find the answers despite having the man count advantage in a lot of those isolated engagements. What a ridiculous clutch coming out from Gunner when it matters the most. You call this team a choke team. You call this team a team that has struggled with the mental. All of that has been true in the past, but will it be true right now? Only one way to find out, Parker.
I don't even know what to say. I have loved this best of 2 up to this point. I am hoping for a thrilling conclusion. If that means a best of 3 that goes all 3 maps, or it means that Space Station blast off to fight up against OXG, I don't really care, to be honest. Like I said, I'm here for the story, and it's been a great story from both of these teams. I will say, I think a very compelling story to tell, should it happen one day, is the comeback from that Beast Coast core. Obviously, they soared very high at Manchester, but they haven't looked like the same team since. Again, a lot of people seem to think that they were just the right team at the right moment, which is entirely possible. But the core of this team is still a major winning team, and they need to be in a position to finish top 4 in their region. They need to be in a position to take on the best and reliably beat the best. Up to this point, it was them beating OXG 2-1, then falling 1-2 to Shopify Rebellion, and now could lose 0-2 to Space Station. If that happens, they are going in reverse. A 2-1 victory into a 1-2 loss and an 0-2 loss. That's not the way that you want to go.
Parker, I'm scrolling back as far as I can. I've not reached the end yet, but M80 have lost at least the last 5 round 15s that they have played dating back to stage 2 of the NAL last year.
It's not good.
Round 15s have been the bane of this team. 5 in a row at least that they have been unsuccessful in winning, and of course that means the map as well. This has got to be the time where that stat turns on its head and changes. It'll be a chalet attack. SSG, a great chalet defensive team, so it's not going to get easy, but M80 have found 3 so far. This top floor hold will be the first objective to clear out. Ashen's up here, Benja's up here, Newers is up here. The 3-headed spear of SSG. They're 3 aggressive players holding things down on the top floor. And M80, happy to play it passive so far, hoping for an unfortunate swing, hoping that the nerves will get to SSG and they'll make a mistake, but it has yet to come.
Hot and Cold will lead the way into this top floor, dancing around a Nitro Cell, which does a fair bit of damage, but he still survives. Last time around, he did an excellent job with Diffuser to bait one of these defenders into a damning spot. Can they replicate that again? Will SSG take the bait again, or will they be a bit more static in the way that they approach this defense? Ashen getting aggressive now, moving up to where we saw the shield positioned. Limited action beyond that. J90 felled. Gavin will join as well now. Diffuser taking some damage. Ashen was on the board. Fultz now backing away. Down he goes. Into the basement. SSG have retaken this top floor control, and the Monty is down on the main floor. An upside down rappel will find one of the players. Gunner taking down Newer. Kino looking for something. They'll trade back. Diffuser goes down, and it's Ashen and Benja's last two standing. Skyscraper looking like a certainty at this point. Barring an incredible retake and post-plant from SSG, M80 should be able to lock this one out. Diffuser gets gunned down. I don't know if that information is there for Space Station. They've also spotted the shield of the Monty, so the bigger obstacle will be Gunner. Hopping on the case is Ashen as he watches over top. Benja buying him time. Ashen taken down by Hot and Cold. A bit of a miss as Benja Master has to turn and look towards the door. That's the cavalry as Gunner finally emerges, just enough to buy time. Benja has no choice but to stick, and he knows that it's all but over. Hot and Cold gets the final kill. A breath let out by Gunner as they know how close it was. M80 take the 15th round, and we are headed to a third map between these teams.
How's that for some Hot and Cold shield play? Maybe he's had his struggles so far in the playoffs, but when they had to get it done, the first round 15 win for M80 in at least 6 months comes off of a massive 3K from Hot and Cold on the Monty. Taking down that player on the Diffuser was absolutely critical in the post plant. He's the real hero of that final round, but it was a team effort. Everybody on M80 can take a sigh of relief and then lock in because map 3's up next.
Honestly, a great job for both of these teams, and both of them could have walked away with a victory. One of them will emerge with a win on Skyscraper. We've got a break ready for you, and then we'll come back with the thrilling conclusion of this series.
Don't fight Sean.
Do not fight him. Not fighting. He's looking for you now. Boys. He's gonna run out on you.
Oh, let's go, map 3.
Run out on you. You back on me, I can stop.
Map 3, boys. Map 3, boys. Come on, boys.
Good fucking shit, boys. Good fucking shit.
Skyscraper, boys. That's our domain right there, bro.
I fucking love you, man. I love you.
The hard part, Matt.
It's M80 SSG with elimination and a spot in the top 4 on the line. Of course, we're going to map 3. We had to be going the distance in what has been a back and forth series, especially this map, a back and forth map. Fox, I mean, this one, neither team was really able to get out ahead of the other, the lead flip-flopping the whole time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think there was a lot of innovation from M80's side. I think they were trying to throw a bunch of different looks every single round. If it didn't work, they'd change it. I mean, yeah, they were constantly being adaptive, especially in that last round. Bringing the Monty was a great call. Obviously, it's what ended up getting that plan and was end up actually getting them that win. Yeah. So essentially just constantly diversifying your attack pool, especially when the attacks have their ups and downs, obviously. Really smart play from M80. They look to play a lot better, but you know, I hate to say it, I feel like SSG, it was their map to lose, and they lost it for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it was their own pick, and SSG, they did have their moments where it looked like they might be the team to come out on top. I think round 8, Lax is a great example of this, where we saw this team clutching up in a pretty tough situation.
Yeah, and it also goes back to M80, though, of those mid to late rounds where they fumbled. They could have ended this series a lot quicker if you don't let this retake happen from SSG. You've already done the majority of the job here. You got down to a 2v4, and what happens here? It just falls apart. SSG just somehow manages to bring this back, but it's obviously kudos to the players of SSG just remaining calm, staying composed, playing together, understanding that they don't need to make the move here. It's all on M80, but again, it does go back to M80 just losing rounds that should be in their hands.
Yeah, it was a mismanagement of time. I mean, it was a nice crossfire that the SSG players had, both with DMRs, but the mismanagement, I mean, the two players walk down solar stairs, a player drops the hatch after they die.
Yeah.
They didn't all
Bad
sync
timing,
in
bad
coordination.
comms.
Yeah.
Well, SSG took the lead for the first time in round 11. A few rounds later, M80 bring it back, tie it up, we go to OT. And then, of course, round 15, Fox, where it all came to a head. And within this round, it went back and forth, but it was M80 who played a very strong end of that round to push it over the line.
Yeah, M80 had the diffuser planted. The execute was already done. They just had to be able to rely on hot and cold not going down. And here was the blunder that I'm sure Benja's going to be thinking about. He had a C4, and look at hot and cold's HP. He missed the C4 on the hot and cold to be able to get rid of him. They could have got that diffuse off if the C4 would have landed. And also on the coverage, Benja gives up his teammate's position to look behind him, and in that moment, that's when hot and cold, great timing for him to ADS to go for that 1v1. But again, that is not a round, in my opinion, that hot and cold or M80 should have won. Hot was so low, Benja just needs to not get nervous and hit the C4, and the Monty would have gone down. They would have won the round. Nobody else was there in time to be able to win it. And I think Benja just misplayed it on the C4 and on the coverage. That's going to be a round that he individually, you know, if they don't win Skyscraper, he's going to be thinking to himself, wow, if I just would have solved that, we would have been done 2-0.
Well, Skyscraper, the map that you hinted at, is next, and thankfully, we do not have to wait much longer to actually get into it. Our players are ready to go, our casters, I'm sure, are ready to go, and we will finally see the conclusion to this one. Elimination on the line, a chance in the spot, a spot in the top 4 on the line as we get into this one. Going into Skyscraper. Parker and Jesse, it's yours.
Well, thank you very much. And of course, the conclusion is going to come on one of the maps that we see the least, Jesse. So we're going to have some fresh expectations here. And we're not really going to know what's coming on Skyscraper. What is your immediate takeaway on this map and how these two teams' play styles will match up on it?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. We haven't seen Skyscraper so much this stage, but of course, we have seen it through previous stages, and in every other stage since Skyscraper was introduced into the game, it has been incredibly defender-sided. Now, maybe the addition of Rara will completely change the Skyscraper meta. I think it's probably still going to be pretty defender-sided, though, between these two teams, much like what we expected from Chalet and saw from Nighthaven Labs. So it's going to be an interesting game to finish things off. It's going to be a little bit risky, of course, for M80, who coming into this third round, they will be starting on the attack. For the first time, they're likely to fall into a deficit on their attacking half, right? If SSG go off to a lead, that'll kind of break the trend from what we've seen so far in this stage, where historically it has been M80. They got a 4-2 half on the first map. They went up 3-0 in the second map. So this might be the first time that we see the Shugo get put on the other foot, where now all of a sudden it's SSG who have to have the strong mental to lock down a lead, and it's M80 who will have that motivation to fight back.
You did all that talking. Now what am I supposed to say as the operator bans come in? That's not my thing, that's your thing.
Well, I mean, you can say that there's only one shield banned, which is a little bit odd. Not the craziest situation. We just see the Ying get taken out instead, which is a crazy strong operator. I will say it's very weird to see the Clash make it through. They go for the Bandit Kaid instead, which can be good. It's far less common than what we see on, say, Nighthaven Labs, where Bandit Kaid is almost always going to be the two banned operators. Here, it's usually one or the other. Sometimes neither. You've seen kind of Clash smoke bans sometimes, where both electrical operators get taken or get left up on the board. So a bit interesting from M80 to choose to leave up the Clash and to instead remove focus, or to focus entirely on these electrical operators. But I think it's still a sound strategy, right? We'll keep that outer wall on Geisha a lot more safe, as well as the top house wall and of course the office wall.
I know there was speculation when the second wave comes in after the end of the third round that you would see both Kaid and Bandit get banned out all the time. It hasn't really come to pass. Of course, it depends on maps. Kaid is not always the best ban. He's not exactly an operator that works on every single bomb site. Another operator that I think it fits that bill really well, which has just come out of quarantine actually because he was he was doing something wrong, I guess, is Castle. Castle is a strong operator, but he doesn't see use on every single bomb site. He can see use on most of them, especially if teams are going to extend upwards. Castle can have some serious value off-site, but he's not always an operator that you want to bring every single time. Kaid fits a very similar bill. Bandit too. I do like Bandit's loadout a little bit more than Kaid's, but I'm also not a pro player, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Said before that when Bandit gets brought, he is one of the few guns that can be comfortably run without any optics or sights on it. He's also got a nitro cell. He's just overall, I think, a very strong operator in the right hands, and we've seen some good Bandit play so far in this series.
Well, we'll start Skyscraper off with Little tea room karaoke action, as we so commonly do from SSG. M80 have really focused on taking this bottom floor control, which means J90 will likely be the first point of contact, although there are some shots going on towards the Newers on the top floor window. Still, expect J90 to be really what they're focused on clearing out, as they need to get up these black stairs if they want to get a push going into karaoke, into T.
Activating glass.
Newers is taking a bit of damage. Same with Kino. The Warden and the Glass both not at full HP. A little bit funny to see that. Halfway point of the round, and down goes Diffuser, as now the shield of Hot and Cold is watched from multiple angles. J90 doing most of the job, keeping his attention. Benjamaster with the kill, though, and SSG finds themselves in a great spot. You nailed it, though. Is it likely that M80 will be off to the races in the first 2 rounds? I mean, there's still a possibility. They've taken down Fultz. Kino gets answered right back. J90 dies. M80 keeping it close. Ashen has time to type a GN in the chat after his singular opening pick. It leaves Gavin and Gunnar to pick up that case, sort out the final minute, and get to the bomb site.
Gunnar eventually rappels into the balcony, and they've got 45 seconds to come up with a plan, right? Gunnar is top black. Gavin is on the black stairs as well, so they'll be together trying to push through. They don't have great information, but they have 1 lion charge. If they can get a read on where one player is at, they could cycle that into a kill.
You've got 2 great Gunners here, pardon the pun. 1 great Gunner, I guess, in Gavin. A bit of a stalemate right now as M80 plays this one slow. Logic, or rather the EE1D will go off. You can see them paralyzing them for a second. Ashen is fed right into Gunnar, and a beautiful play by Gunnar as Gavin almost had that diffuser down. M80 somehow wins the round. My God. 3 maps in a row. M80 has started off with a victory. SSG has trailed through so much of this series, and it will not get any better to start Skyscraper. You saw energies running a little bit high there as Gunnar was erupting like a volcano, but immediately Mr. SoCal himself, as cool as a cucumber, hot and cold, easing expectations and trying to keep people's heads in check.
Wow, Gunnar has woken up. He's realized it's map 3, which tends to be where he shines in the playoffs. A beautiful round coming out from Gunnar. Perfect coverage on Gavin. You could definitely point some fingers at SSG, some swings there that maybe were a little ill-advised. They did let Gavin...
Oh my God, let's go!
They did let Gavin get into a plant spot, which they probably should have been a bit more proactive about, but my God, it is absolutely worth the pop-off. It'll be a 4K from Gunnar in the very first round. We mentioned how this will be a defender-sided map, and historically it does tend to be, but the one time M80 played this map, it was against OXG. They started on the attack, and it was a 7-0 victory. So M80 are no strangers to putting together strong Skyscraper attacks. I'll say this game against SSG, with how high the stakes are, could be a little bit tougher for them than that regular season match against Oxygen, but even still, this is a great first sign from M80.
Assembled outside, and there you go. The Aurora being brought by Hot and Cold. Eager to see what this the Kiwi operator is able to do to impact this particular map. Aurora functions very similarly to Castle, but just from a bit farther away. You can shut out defenders from being able to get back to the bomb site, providing layers for the attackers to work with. Very util heavy operator, and of course it'll be Hot and Cold running that operator. 4 kills for Gunnar in the previous round, by the way.
Yeah. Usually you see this Rara come in kind of to block off the drum door, play outside of Shrine, block that off so you can then get into Shrine and start pushing into site. Not sure if that will be the same game plan that Houghton currently has, but he is positioned to do something similar. Fault on the Clash is going to be a little bit annoying. They've got the buck down below, but Clash is not going to be playing anywhere near that soft floor, just happy to sit outside the building. Watch for anybody on the main breach. That'll be the doorway. Hot and Cold right there is trying to block off. They'll start first with some smokes, hoping to prompt some movement from Ashen, but instead it's the Clash who comes on over.
Fultz is just waiting now with Ashen to tear through whoever is unlucky enough to see that shield operator. Clash's prominence through the roof after she got reworked with Siege X coming out, and now she can put down her shield, do some serious damage amidst the smoke. Kino's been having some good success on this glass. What an absolute I was gonna swear, but I mean, what just a calamity inside the back of the bomb site. Benja and Newers left to hold off against the M80 hordes, and they will watch as, well, they almost were held back from the bomb site. Hot and Cold will go for a second attempt. Necessitates an impact being tossed out from SSG. M80 have started every single map up 2-0. 2-0 map 1, 3-0 map 2. What will the scoreline look here? SSG, can they close the gap? They just got a pick to narrow the numbers down. Diffuser going down in the hands of Gavin. Down below, it's a great play by Benjamaster. Newer's eliminating Diffuser, and it's all up to Kino to clutch now. On a Glass, not exactly the operator you want in this current situation. He's worried about being watched by a cam, and he will have to scoot out of that spot. Almost at the point of no return. And you can see the little head wobble from Kino. He's aware how hard this job is to do. He won't even find a single kill. No diffuser to be planted either because he'd be a sitting duck. And well, SSG would be duck hunting. They win a round earlier than every other map. They tie things up in round 2.
Yeah, great 2v4 clutch. The Gone 6 betraying Kino a little bit. If he had that SMG, it could have been a whole different ball game in the clutch. Maybe could have got a bit more aggressive, but some questionable decisions from SSG. It'll be another 2-round tack timeout. For the third map in a row, SSG will call their tack here after the first 2 rounds have gone down. And it makes sense after how scrappy that round was. It surely could have been a 2-0 for M80 if they weren't able to clutch the 2v4. Some interesting decisions. Hot and Cold sprinting through the site, trying to get to his plant spot, gets caught with the diffuser for the first time, and then the player that picks up the diffuse kit after Hot and Cold goes down chooses not to plant on the little island in the middle of the room instead of office, which cannot be denied from down below. Instead, he's just next to it, and that does get denied from the vertical pressure. So really smart focus from SSG to be able to manage control of that diffuser, always be aware of who's holding it, of where it's at, of where it could be getting planted, and lock things down. Yag's a great entry from Kino on that Glass, but in the 1v2 with only a sniper rifle, there's no chance he's going to win that.
Yeah, I mean, Glaz is a terrific operator. I don't think there's any doubting that. And Glaz in the right circumstances can be a real menace. This M80 team seems to conceal Kino on this Glaz effectively enough that it catches the defenders by surprise time and time again. And I mean, a Glaz emerging through the smoke is a terrifying surprise for anybody to deal with. Doesn't matter if you're playing casual matches, doesn't matter if you're in your ranked games, doesn't matter if you're a pro player. But that concealment is usually only good enough for a single kill, maybe a second if you're able to be quick enough. But again, that depends an awful lot on where the defenders will lie. Neither Kali nor Glaz are great at taking multiple engagements. I will say unless Kali has the secondary out, and then some damage can be done. Yeah. But beyond that, you're usually going to want to be the setup guy. You're not going to be the one to do serious damage. Ashen will go for a spawn peek. He did the same on pretty much every map he's ever played, and Gunner almost dies because of it. That could have been very scary. Hot and Cold will go down to Fultz. A second spawn peek has hit Skyscraper, and it'll be Hot and unfortunately on the wrong side of it.
And now this gets very awkward for Space Station. It's going to be an Amaru straight in through the window. This will put him at the bottom of Black Stairs, but I believe this is being watched by Fault. No, his attention isn't quite towards the window. So with a shotgun, it's definitely doable for Diffuser to win this fight. Gavin's going to be there with a stun as well to make it even easier.
Off to the races. Diffuser slingshots in, Supernova out, and he might actually die to that barbed wire. He manages to escape with a single point of HP. Barbed wire does damage now, by the way. People often forget that. Kino is down in the midst of the smoke. Not down, still potentially fragging, but he's on the ground. Prone, watching that back stairs hallway all the way down between those two former bomb sites of Karaoke and T. But upstairs control will be integral for M80 to pull off and execute to this main floor bomb site. All of this action, it's occurred with still half of the round to go.
Ashen goes back up to the top floor. I think they might have thought it was going to be a bit more of an aggressive top floor take, but they just got the pick on default and then said, we're happy with this. They will open up the wall now. That's likely where Diffuse Kit is going to get planted by Kino. You'd like to be able to plant there with a shield on your back, but that's no longer in the cards. They're going to set up to try to cover that plant. They don't need to full clear top. The fact that Benj is in Geisha is not going to be the end of the world, but they will require control of Sushi where Ashen's at, of the bottom of Restaurant, and certainly of just that top floor area inside of Karaoke where you can deny that plant. They don't need to take everything up above, but they need to take enough ground so that the plant will be stopped, and Kino walks right into Restaurant and finds Ashen. That's a huge pick to give them the man advantage.
I'm sure SSG were aware there was a glass on the board, but that, if not, is a sobering realization. It's put SSG on their back foot. M80 strong starts in these now 3 maps have helped them so well. I mean, without that strong start on Chalet, do they even make it to map 3 is the question. How much staying power will M80 have, though? They start on attack. They are a great attacking team. They need to run up the score here on a map that, while historically defender-sided, we don't have a lot of play on to give us a good idea. Kino's been down, leaving 3 players from M80 still alive. SSG with 2 bodies up, staring at the bomb sites. J90 almost missed an opportunity. Tearing through them. Diffuser is down as well. Gavin is the last one standing, and he'll run out of time. SSG wins the round, and with it, they take the lead. They have struggled to do the latter, which is lead. They've trailed so much of this series, and with the exception of an improbable but incredible comeback in map 1, M80 has been in excellent shape. Ashen will get his licks in chat, as it's time for these teams to ban another operator.
J90 shakes his head a little bit after the conclusion of that round, maybe aware that he got a little bit timing, just some players were crossing his vision. It took him a while to react, but he shouldn't feel too bad because Kino got screwed in the exact same way. Just unlucky timing with the swing of the Warden that took him down, and that kind of started the spiral out of control from M80. This is just how Skyscraper plays, Parker. It doesn't matter if you have a man advantage, it can be a 2v4. The defense still has such incredible positioning. Even with some top floor pressure, you can't really do a whole lot with the players that are in the site, the angles that are being taken by SSG. Excellent anchor play coming out from that squad, and they will get their second round on the board, and they will also ban out the Glass. So Kino will get 3 picks with the sniper rifle, but there will be no more unless, of course, he wants to swap over to the colony.
I do like that change. I think it works very effectively. And I mean, Glaz is a bit of a paralyzing operator, not just on his own, but when you put him with other ops that have access to smoke, whether it be a Sens, whether it be a Capitao, etc. And you can keep him hidden for a period of time when he's ready to emerge amidst his own smoke or any smoke that he can see through. You can't really move with the same level of confidence. Same with Kali. From a far enough angle, Kali can hold you in place. It was something that was said about Maverick when he first launched into the game. Whether Maverick was having an immediate impact on a round or not didn't change the fact that you had to approach almost every single wall as if Maverick had opened it up or might have created a kill hole or 2 that you can't see. That alone changes the calculus for the defenders. Getting a Glaz off the board, whether the Glaz is being successful at getting kills or not, which Kino was to his credit, you are now removing one of the most oppressive operators that attackers can bring, and it will allow SSG to be a bit more confident with the way that they play on defense.
Much different take from M80. They go back to the same bomb site as round 1, but instead of going in bottom floor and trying to work their way up black, they are going to commit to clearing out these office side players. The first one will be Ashen, whose phone rings, and he rings out a headshot too. Big one onto Gavin to start things off for the roamer. He is somewhat solo. Benja is playing house stairs at the moment, so they're on the same side of the map, but will be difficult to trade if they do get into a gunfight with some of those opponents. Ben just starts to make his retreat back through Dragon now. I don't know if Ashen really cares to leave. I think he's quite happy just sitting here on the roam, wasting as much time as he possibly can.
An ideal start for M80 to lose Gavin. Spacestation want to run up the score as much as possible. Again, it is not a great feeling to constantly be fighting from behind, but that's been the position that Spacestation has found themselves in so far today. Real winner of this series, by the way, is Ashen gets a second kill running out on hot and cold. The real winner, Jesse, is OXG, as these two teams beat each other to a pulp. OXG is just patiently waiting, sitting for the victor in the very next matchup. OXG breezed through their series against Wildcard 2-0, and now they get a bit of a rest. There will be no rest for the Weary here, and one of these teams, don't doubt it, will be Weary after this series concludes. Kino wearing the M80 skin on Capitao. His own team colors will take down Ashen, and that's the very first pick for M80. But I don't think it's going to get much better than this. Kino will be the last one standing as down goes Gunner, and he's not long for this earth. Foles punishes him from inside a drum, and that'll be all she wrote on that round. SSG, their lead grows by 1.
Skyscraper can be such a difficult map to try to enter in on. I believe Pangu, your former co-caster, was tweeting about this the other day and how some of these really defender-sided maps like Skyscraper, like Consulate, can be just a nightmare for the attack to get into because there's so many little spots that the defenders can be playing in. Even when you think you have a read on them, thanks to those Dokkaebi calls, there's going to be an aggressive play comes out, like Ashen running out the Shrine door to be able to get a big pick from there. Even if you have that intel, it's still so incredibly tough to find a good angle because as long as the defenders are playing smart positions, and Ashen and Benjamaster will be playing good positions, well, it just becomes so incredibly difficult to kill them without having to walk in through another handful of angles that the defenders will surely be holding.
The whole fucking round, bro.
So, big stuff coming out from SSG in their own game. M80 having their struggles. I said it before, they had a 6-0 attacking half against Oxygen earlier in the stage. That is, of course, not being repeated here against SSG.
5 seconds left before.
Very impressed by what we've seen out of SSG to start this third map. Both of these teams evenly matched through the 2 contests up to this point. I'm going to say what I said on Chalet, but I'll say it now for Skyscraper. I am intrigued to see the second half of this series. M80 will move to defend this map, and whether it'll be realized as a fortress that it kind of looks like for the defenders at the moment will be answered. Obviously not ideal for the fans of M80, seeing these struggles to get into the building. Skyscraper is a pretty big map. It does require an awful lot of discovery. Good news for M80. They've still got plenty of drones, though SSG have brought both Mute and Mozzie to take that information away. There'll be a rush on in from M80, though. They hit the gas over by Kitchen. Fultz has to fear for his life now as the soft wall will do him no favors. Diffuser credited with the kill, but Hot and Cold was really the man of the hour there. First pick goes to M80.
Yeah, still fighting though. Benjamaster would love to get a trade back, but there's a Blackbeard. You're gonna have to fight past that shield, and Hot and Cold's played really passive, really well, not bringing that shield down. He knows how to stay alive on this operator, and so he's doing a great job opening up space for Gavin. Now they've got a lot of the other side of this map. Keep in mind, bomb site is master bedroom and bathroom, one of the least played bomb sites in Siege. Back at the 6 Invitational, this was the only bomb site where not a single round was played. Benja with a lot of util being held up towards the top of Dragon, making sure that he can have a good opportunity, a good bit of information. He's likely to be droned soon, but without that drone coming forward, he might just choose to get aggressive. They're in a man deficit, so it makes sense to go a little aggro here.
A reposition now from M80 as another minute has expired. Getting to the do or die point of this round. I like that M80 got that leadoff pick, but didn't get a bit too jumpy. They flushed Fultz out of position. They went back to Discovery. They got more information, and now they can push their way towards this top floor over the bomb sites. Gavin will hunt down Newers, and Space Station will be even worse off than they were. Benja wouldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. He basically falls on Gavin, but Gavin catches him so gracefully. J9O, the only player for SSG on the board at the moment. He's got a lineup for a potential second player. Though I don't want the silhouettes to give it away. It does look like a Blackbeard, which will be a tough shot. Now it's Ashen lined up over on House Stairs. He's on a collision course with Kino. Down goes Hot and Cold. Ashen punishing Diffuser. Where has SSG found these kills? It might all be for naught, as J9O's last alive in the midst of these bomb sites. He can see both door frames and has to square himself away. Gavin and Kino will be the 2 targets. He traces over to get Kino, and he gets Gavin as well! I am Jack's complete and utter surprise. What a performance by SSG and a stunning end to the round.
I mean, what do you do against a guy like that, bro? Insane clutch coming out once again from J90, defensive merchant here for SSG, the man who is pulling the team on his back. That was a ridiculous final shot to be able to get the last kill, surprising even himself that he managed to get away with that. The least played bomb site in Siege, it looked like a foregone conclusion that M80 would be getting their second attacking round win, but J90 had something big to say about it. Just a disgusting shot to come out. It's again a 2v4 clutch. How many of those have we seen? That's beautiful.
What a shocker. What a shocker. And M80, a team that already looked like they were battling mental issues in this game, might have just seen that proverbial back get broken by that play. J90 really has been the star of the show for Spacestation today. They do not make it to this point without him. He was top frag in map number 1. He was just shy of Benjamaster for top frag on his team in map 2. And now he leads the way just ahead of Ashen by 1 kill. A reminder, J90 does not play traditional fragging roles. He can frag and often does. And depending on what's going on with SSG's composition, he could be asked to do more. But that would put him into a flex role. Ashen has been playing more sheltered minutes on Skyscraper, which has allowed J90 to frag more effectively, and he is doing exactly as been asked of him. That's obviously bad news for M80.
J90 is a great role player. You know, you're going to put him in the bomb site every single round, and you're going to get results. You can guarantee that your site is not going to be run over. He'll be locking things down, and if the roam game falls apart, as it did in round 5, he is there to make sure that you still have a fighting chance. Incredible in the late round, always able to stand up and get kills. Game's not over yet, though. It's just one incredible play, and at the end of the day, it is defensive side on Skyscraper. You expect to be going up. 5-1 would still be quite difficult, quite a mountain for M80 to climb, so they would hope to get just one more as they force their way into the second half. The bomb site will move up 1 floor to Office Exhibition, but M80, plenty of players lurking around on this bottom floor. It's mostly Diffuser right now. And the roam game, supported by Fault on the Clash, looks to just be falling off with the logic bomb. They don't want to stick around, happy to just let M80 waste their own time.
2 shields will do dances with one another. Fultz and Hot and Cold, the dedicated supports at this current point in time, might just find themselves in a fun spot. We've had a couple glimpses at the 2 operators clashing in the past. Again, pardon the pun. It's a pun day today, I guess.
I've noticed.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling good. I got a good amount of rest. It's the playoffs. It's a beautiful day today. What might be the nicest day in Toronto that I've seen. And I'm very glad that both Spoit and Canadian got the day off. They'll probably be scrimming, but I hope that they're enjoying this beautiful weather as they're both stationed in Toronto at the moment. For Canadian, that makes sense. For Spoit, it's a little bit far from home. Diffuser starting things off, gunning down Ashen with a minute still left on the clock. A bit of a later opening pick for M80. But they're desperate for anything at this point. J90 continuing his sensational play. Now looks for the shoulders of the Monty. Gets swept through by the Ash of Gavin as Newers trades that one right out. Fultz eliminating Gunner, and the advantage will go back to SSG. Gavin and Diffuser will need to make something work. They've got 8 kills between them, but Newers has something to say about that. Leaving Gavin all by his own to take down Fultz, but it's Newers again to get the cleanup kills. Call him the janitor because he took out the trash that round. 5-1 in the first half for Space Station. They are oh so close to knocking out M80 and setting themselves up to battle OXG.
Perfect positioning from Newers there. They know he's house stairs, so he's got an angle down below where he can cheese even more kills than that. Moving his positions to the stairs, to down below, to the stairs once again to get all 3 of those picks. There were a lot of people, especially after some of the failures that SSG have had this stage, that were looking back at that trade that they made with OXG, taking in Newers, dropping out Forest. The roles really had to switch up on Space Station. You know, they look like a completely different team, and especially after their failures at Reload, a lot of people were wondering, was this the smart decision? Because SSG had been so consistent through top events through the last 2 years prior to making that move. But there's a damn good reason why Newers was brought onto this team. He is so incredibly talented with these mechanics, and when SSG saw he was available, they had to pounce on that. Pays off for them now. They get their 5-1 they're hoping for.
I'm the fucking GOAT. I'm the fucking GOAT, bitch.
Many have said this. But once again, Skyscraper, a defender-sided map. This could still be M80 making their comeback.
Let me get ahead of this and just say the direct comparison to a player like J90 who says, yes, guys, great job, when he clutches around, and then Newers just goes, I am literally the greatest of all time. Look at me go. It was a team effort on that round. Newers does deserve his flowers for the way that he played that, but can we alone say that he is the single reason for SSG's success? No, of course not. Just goes to show you a bit of difference, that's all.
He knows that, of course, but he's very happy to pump himself up after a big round where he did have a huge impact. It was actually a great interview that was done, I think, just a couple of days ago on the desk between Newers and his old teammates of Fox and Laxing, and they talked about how much he had matured being on this very disciplined SSG team compared to maybe some of the times where he was on Oxygen and not folding his own bed sheets. Well, now it seems like he has really grown up both in the server and out. You will need to be disciplined to close out a 5-1 Skyscraper half. These attacks don't come easily. Kino's going to jump on that clash. You've tried to ban out both the Zombie and Goyo, interestingly enough, to make this a little bit simpler for you, but that means that getting some of these walls open will be a big problem, and Benja looks like he was unsuccessful in getting that wall to drum, so it gets a little bit awkward going for this roam clear now.
I will say, as we have watched more and more of SSG here in the playoffs, Benjamaster seems to be settling into his role with a little bit greater ease than he was before. I specifically pointed this out, I think it was yesterday, that the addition of Newers to this SSG squad kind of put Benja in an odd spot, and Benja's overall effect on this team has seemed much smaller. That has not been the case today. Benja has been having a very impactful day in all of the maps, maybe not in flashy ways, but whether it comes to kills, as we saw in map number 2, or utility in maps 1 and now maps 3, he looks like he's fitting the current roles. And of course, it's going to take time. Again, when you bring in a new player and you change things up and you get rid of a guy like Forrest, who Forrest and Newers are not the same player, and the team is going to function completely different with Forrest versus Newers, there's going to be some time for these teams and these players to adjust, find new roles, and get the most out of them. But as Call Out said, when a player like Newers becomes available, you get him. And right now, he's a huge part of why SSG is where they are.
No great answers to Kino. They're trying to chuck in some nades. They've actually trapped him. They used Aurora Gate so he can no longer leave Dragon. He's got a rotate behind him, so he should be fine. Good idea. Didn't quite get it off, though. And he will surprise with safety, but Gavin strikes first. Opening pick on Ash.
Will continue to get better for M80, though they do lose Gavin. A bit of a bummer there. They answer right back by taking down Benjamaster. Newers on the board. J90 now will join him as that shield of Kino persists, slowing the advance of Spacestation, but not enough to make them falter. Now it's Newers to hunt down the player of Gunner, who's playing very shrewdly on what looks to be hard floor. A nade will come up. He's flushed out of his position, still being hounded by that death mark. Hot and Cold is there for backup. Unsheathing a Nitro Cell. It will go out. It claims almost both of them. Newers dances backwards. Gunner takes him down, and M80 is so desperate for these rounds. They need a comeback. They will find their second round here on Skyscraper, but they've got quite the climb ahead of them.
Liked the demos play down below. It was a good idea, but the response to it was even better. Standing on that hard floor, making sure if you're Gunner that you cannot get killed from that death mark down below. It is such a difficult thing to play against, but Gunner played it really well, dodged the nade, stayed on that hard floor. Not an easy 2v2 for Hot and Gunner to clutch up, but the longtime teammates do make it happen up against J90 and Newers. So really well played. That's definitely a must-win round. You know, you cannot afford to go down 6-1. You have to rely on the defensive side of Skyscraper to bring this game home. If you don't even win your first defense, you start to really panic. They needed that last round. They're going to need this round again. They can afford a single round loss on the defensive half. That's got to happen on some tertiary site, right? That's got to happen on Barbecue Kitchen, or it's got to happen on Master Bedroom and Bathroom. If you lose one of these top floor sites as M80, your whole hope is just going to sink, because it's going to be so much more difficult to win the site right after that, knowing that you don't have the fallback of being able to win your top floors.
Attackers must locate and defuse.
Aurora's played a big role here on this map in terms of finding her place in a team's meta, but I don't know if I can say yet with any certainty that as an operator, she has changed the way that a round will go. Maybe I've missed something because, again, she's got those gates, she shoots them out. You're not going to see all of them. You're not going to see how it will change a flank, etc. But from what we've witnessed, I don't necessarily know if the Aurora's been a huge part of influencing these rounds. I thought the same of M80 when they brought her on attack, and now I'm seeing the same with SSG, or I can see the same with SSG. Jade, I know, is a creative player. We'll see what he can do with her, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, she is a new operator. People like to bring them, see what they can do. It doesn't matter what operator that was. Jade just gets a freebie. Gunner picks a long-range fight from a window, and SSG have a very important first pick.
Well, the long-range DMR certainly doesn't hurt to have on an operator like Rara, so you're going to be feeling pretty good about that if you're SSG. She's definitely had an impact on the Skyscraper meta, but she hasn't really redefined it. The map still feels like it does favor the defenders. Give us some more options to the attack, though, that is for sure. This drone is catching hot and cold as he goes for a wide rotate down towards Restaurant. It's not really where the rest of the SSG players are at. So they will safely just get on into office now, trying to assist with this roam clear. Really smart play with those Rora gates will allow them to much more safely jump into that trophy window, get this part of the map. Everybody has retreated on the side of M80, so it's ground that was being given for free anyways. But part of the reason why they've got to leave so early is just because that Rara is on the board. Now they can make their way into Drum, clear out some of this utility, start to get the Geisha wall open, which has just, I believe, been opened now. And start to make a push forward in towards the site. Still lots of ground to cover if you're SSG, but they've been pretty much flawless so far.
Down goes Diffuser. Things will continue to get better for Space Station. Jesse with a minute still left to go here in a round that could push SSG up to match point. BM80 on the brink. For those that don't have the visual component in front of them, this is a lower bracket match. No way, Gavin. Oh my goodness. That is a frustrating position for him to be in. He doesn't leave Kino with much left to do, and it falls apart in a hurry for this M80 defense. SSG sitting on series point, 1 round away from top 4 in the North America League.
And that round really comes all down to information. They constantly knew where everybody on M80 was from the very first opening pick. Jane, I know the long angle onto Gunner seemed to have information that Gunner was playing down around Pantry. Then they got another pick onto Diffuser. They saw that he had dropped the Geisha hatch. They get another pick on that information. Hot and Cold gets caught on a drone. Running around down below towards Restaurant. He goes down with nothing. The only player they weren't aware of was Gavin, and he only got 1 for his troubles. So really good information from Space Station Gaming, showing just why they are so good at this attacking half. Sometimes it's been the bane of them. Sometimes it's been something that they've struggled with, but I think it's consistently gotten better throughout this stage. And in these playoffs, it's really showing up for them to be a big factor. It will force attack timeout now from M80. It is do or die. You must win the next 4 rounds, or else it will not be you headed to the top 4.
Don't want to say it's a fall from grace for M80, though I did say earlier that they have obviously taken a step back, but this is a team that has been steadily improving. Obviously not the same core that we saw from the Beast Coast side of things, but they swap out Spirits, they bring in Kino. It's a change that's worked for both of the teams. I mean, Spirits is right now on the #1 team based on the standings in these playoffs. For those that didn't watch yesterday's matches, Dark Zero sits in the grand final of this playoff series. They are awaiting one of OXG, M80, Space Station, or Shopify Rebellion. It just really depends on which team makes it all the way to the lower bracket final to do battle with Shopify Rebellion. And then the winner of that series will have an opportunity to take on Dark Zero. At this point, once you make top 4, I think for a lot of teams, you've accomplished a huge goal, but from there on out, it's more about greater prize pool winnings because there is a difference whether you finish first or second.
Yeah.
4th place gets, this is a bit goofy. I mean, obviously because it's in Euro, it's not in USD, which I think is kind of funny for a North American league, admittedly. It's about $14,000 to finish in 4th place. 1st place gets just shy of 30,000. So it's not an insignificant amount of money. Do keep in mind that Most of the teams, if not all of the teams, get paid monthly as a salary from their orgs, and they also will get a cut of those winnings shared amongst them. Potentially equally, we don't really know what the contracts of the individual players say or how much of a cut the orgs would take, etc. But still, bragging rights also on the line.
And more importantly than both, I would argue, is the SI points, which really ramp up if you get first or second in the league. That's going to be really important later on in the season, as there's not very many opportunities to get SI points this year compared to previous tournaments. We do have an extended roam coming over from M80. This clash, of course, providing a lot of good value, as Hot and Cold is not being able to give up anything. They are trying their best to get a cheeky pick on a Gavin, but he will escape with his life intact. And Hot and Cold, again, he's only here to slow down SSG. Knows that he's not going to get any kills on his side of things. Will delay that roam clear coming out. And now Ashen is taking control of Drum and is starting to really feel the wrath of this clash.
Down goes Fultz. They'll answer back by getting rid of Gunner. And just like that, M80 saw what little advantage they have, slipped through their finger. The Kaid that was banned out in the first half is able to be played here unless we see him get banned at the end of this round when the next wave of operator bans come in. We might not even get that far. If SSG prevails in this fight, that will be all she wrote. It's up against OXG. Things will go from bad to worse for M80. They've now lost Gavin. Their best players in terms of kills are down for the count, so you'll need big moments from Kino and Diffuser, and even Hot and Cold if he does decide to hop off of that class shield. 45 seconds left, and SSG are stacked up close enough to the bomb site to taste it. Down goes Benjamaster to Diffuser, so there we go. A comeback brewing. Newer's removing the head of Diffuser, softening up the shield of Hot and Cold, but the bullets just bounce right off. Hot will have no choice but to pull out the sidearm, and it's Kino to save the day. Everything falling apart, but Kino finds two very swift kills, and it's Kino and Ashen in a fight to the death. Diffuser being planted. Ashen will pop up, falling off of it. They know exactly where he is, and Ashen wins the fight! No time to type in chat. SSG will be in action very quickly against OXG. M80's hopes dashed, and it's a top 4 finish for Spacestation.
SSG will finish their 2-year-long streak of attending every single international event here in Siege, 8 in a row as they qualify. They get the invitation to EWC. That's going to be M80 falling down to that 5th, 6th position. They will no longer have the opportunity to get above 5th place. A devastating loss after the tournament that they've had, but SSG today were the better team. Excellent defenses, excellent resilience through that game, extremely well played.
And very little time for them to prep for the next match. Will be coming up in just a few moments after this break.
NT, close.
Hey, yes.
Let's fucking go.
Hey,
Shit.
that's how you fucking do it, fellas. When the heads start dropping, when the pants start shit, we start taking fucking soul spells. That was a good shot. That's how you do it.
Holy shit!
SSG shut the door on M80. They send them packing, and they claim their own top 4 spot here in the NA League. We welcome in J90, victorious against M80 in the grudge match from the Super Week. J9, we know this one was a big one. To play for top 4, to go up against a team that beat you earlier this stage. What's this victory like right now?
I'm glad we pulled through. Our game versus Wildcard, we were not playing like ourselves, and yeah, we were much more like ourselves today, cranking hard.
Great. I mean, I got quick 2 questions. First one is, would you want to elaborate on what Callout was saying at the end of the win comms right there? People were pants were what?
Yeah. Basically, people get nervous in these kind of situations. Not us.
No, not you guys. I mean, we saw that, and that kind of follows me up into my next question. I mean, were you guys worried at all? Obviously, Chalet was really close. You guys go to Skyscraper. M80 previously had 7-0 to OXG on it. Was that at all in the thought process when you guys were going through the map bans, or were you confident if it were to go to a map 3 that you guys would have the win?
No, we weren't worried about that. We were pretty confident, and we scrimmed them before, and we made some adjustments and whatnot. So yeah, we were pretty confident.
Well, Jack, I want to congratulate you on your performance because you put in quite the effort, put a few of your teammates in your backpack, to say the least. But I also want to talk about, obviously, especially throughout the series, me and Fox were talking about, you guys really haven't been adopting the meta too much of using the shields, but today, particularly, you guys were jumping around the shields, whether that was Newers, whether that was Fultz, whether that was Ash, and any reason why you're showing it now that maybe you weren't showing it throughout the stage?
I think M80 kind of just deals with the shields poorly, and like they're very like pulled to pressure and whatnot. So yeah, it's just good against them specifically.
Okay.
All right, J9, we're going to let you go because you guys have another match to prepare for. OXG ahead, and not too long before that. So best of luck in that one, and we'll see you then.
Thank you very much. Have a good one, guys.
All right, thanks so much. A big win there for SSG, 7-4, 8-7, 7-2. They shut the door on M80 in the end. Fox, a great way to bounce back from that wildcard matchup. As J9 said, that was not their best. This was pretty close to it.
No, it was pretty good. I mean, I think we talked about it in the pregame that M80 definitely set SSG up when it came to the maps, in my opinion. I mean, Skyscraper just looks like a map that SSG would thrive on, and they sure did. I mean, they started out on defense first, which is probably not the position that you want to be in if you're M80. And I really do think there's an element of gassing out, essentially. Just, I feel like M80 losing the first map, struggling and barely winning on the second map. I want to say there was a little bit of mental game of them just worrying, them not feeling confident in the way that they wanted to play. It looked like there was a lot of blunders on their end, whereas SSG, their defenses were with lights out. This map truly amplified them being able to play off of each other because we know they're so aggressive, but when they're able to combine their aggression with teamwork, that's where you see the scary SSG that we hope to be more consistent at the end of the day.
Well, obviously, M80 could not correct those mistakes in time. Lax, we talked so much about the little things they wanted to get right, the changes they had to make. We didn't see them here, and now they're gone.
Yeah, and it's tough because I can feel for it as being a former player when you're in these situations where, you know, you're finding some success, you're not finding success throughout the stage, and then you come into a scenario where the comms are the biggest problem, the mid to late round, and it's so hard to fix it game to game because it's not something that you can just look at and identify and be like, okay, we're going to fix it for the next game, because it really comes down to each individual being in that moment to understand not to get chaotic, not to talk when they don't need to talk, or to relay information that needs to be relayed, and being able to decipher everything properly. And again, I can feel for M80. It's very hard. I really was hoping they were going to carry the momentum from Chalet, especially from a hot and cold. He was down on himself after that series against SR, blaming himself for not being able to get it done, and then to push them to a map 3, but then to start on attack and just immediately fall flat due to, honestly, Skyscraper playing a lot of that, just a very defender-sided map. It is unfortunate, but what can you do?
Well, SSG, they move ahead to face Oxygen in the next round of the losers bracket in our final best of 3 of the day. The winner of that will play Shopify Rebellion for a spot in the grand final. So the stakes are high. We're going to give our players a second to regroup. We're going to step aside for about 10 minutes, and when we come back, we will get our final best of 3 underway.